got an injury crash near Westboro Drive. This is going to be in Charlotte Park on Charlotte Pike near Westboro Drive, reported by police. Then over here, looks like Tulip Grove Road in Hermitage. You've got one there, Lebanon Pike, west of Tulip Grove Road. Police on the scene. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Token 99.7 WTN.
Hello, kids. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show on this Monday, January 6th, 2024. Conveniently, according to my underpants, my name is Matt Murphy, and for the next 4 hours, we hope to thrill you with what we call radio excellence, or at least an hour out of the 4. Who knows? We've got lots to get into on this Monday edition. Thank you for being with us. Whatever time you're able to spend with us, we're certainly appreciative of it. Allow us, if you will, to get the pleasantries out of the way, and we'll get the show lumbering under its own weight. It is Locks for Trump Day 310. That's right. I heard Dan Mandis this morning on Nashville's Morning News smacking on my hair. That's a lot of bawdy talk from a bald man, but I heard him, every single bit of it. Talking about how I'm leaving hair around. Did you hear this, Ken Weaver? By the way, Ken Weaver's in the background in News Closet B. He's gathering headlines. He just does the news, boys.
Listen, I leave beard hairs all over this control board here, and Joan never complains once.
She's collecting them to knit a sweater.
There's Chris Weber. That's what I threatened Mandis with this morning. I hit him up and I said, I'll tell you what, I will collect all of those hairs on a daily basis when I finish the show at 7 o'clock, and I'll knit you an oven mitt out of my hair.
I was thinking a toupee.
It would go over right on the top of his little head. It might keep the shine off the head with the studio lights. You never know. I love you, Dan, just like you love me. Dan's great to mess with because anytime you're messing with Dan, Dan's quick to tell you that he's just messing with you. I had to tell him this morning. I was like, Dan, you don't have to tell me that you're messing with me every time you mess with me. It's okay. I get it. But yeah, apparently I'm leaving show hairs all over the place.
Show hairs.
I don't know what's going on, but it's Locks for Trump Day 310. I'm doing this for my country, Dan Mandis. What are you doing? Drinking that herbal tea or whatever the hell you're drinking?
Throat coat.
Oh yeah, that's right, throat coat. It's not. I don't think it's tea. It's slippery elm. Whatever the hell.
Slippery elm.
By the way, I meant to put this up on social media now that it comes up, and Weaver, you're going to disagree with me.
What's that?
And that's okay. It's all right. We can disagree without being. Here's a hot take.
Okay.
Hot tea is better in every way than coffee. That's a hot take for me.
That's a really hot take.
I don't know about that, Brother Murphy. It make you go to the bathroom more.
Does it?
Yes, tea.
That's
what I hear.
I don't know that I believe that. I mean, the only thing that coffee might have going for it, it's got a little more caffeine per sip. You know what I mean?
I've heard tea has got more caffeine.
Does it?
But then
I think
again,
it all depends on the tea and then the coffee blend and all that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but it can depend then. Well, then coffee's got nothing going for it. If tea can get me some more caffeine in there, because that's what I'm really looking for. I'm looking for the reason all of this has come up is I decided on a whim that as we do these, they call them resolutions, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I would prefer to call them goals, life goals or whatnot. But, I get it where, the changeover in a year, you want to kind of reassess how 2024 went. You want to know how, what do you want to do in your personal, private life or even in your public life to do better in 2025? And for some reason, and it's for no health reasons whatsoever, for some reason I've decided to, once I am done with the carbonated beverages that I currently have in my house, that I'm not going to drink carbonated beverages in 2025.
Wow.
And
that's a big one.
Well,
maybe it's not for you. I don't know.
I mean, it's a big one for me in as much as how much I drink Mountain Dew. I drink a lot of Diet Mountain Dew, and I drink some Monster energy drink. Right now, I've got a little Red Bull energy drink, but I'm eliminating. I'm not gonna be a fool and give them away. Or goodness me, throw them away.
No,
I
can't
wouldn't
do
do
that.
any of that. But once I've eliminated them, I'm going to non-carbonated stuff. And so I'm testing what I want to do for my caffeine intake.
All right, so the question is, what's the harm in the carbonation?
I don't know that there is any.
Okay.
I
just wondered what your reasoning was.
No, I realized that I was trying these Monster teas, and I know they've got bad stuff in them. You don't have to tell me. But I was trying, it's a Monster Energy tea.
Okay.
Rather than
Haven't
the
seen
carbonated beverages. It's called Rehab. And it's like a peach tea or a raspberry tea or whatever.
Okay.
And I was drinking one of those, and I found myself thinking how much more of a pleasant experience it was. Because typically with carbonated beverages, and y'all can call me a freak if you want because I know I am, I try to make them flat anyway.
That's weird.
I will take a bottled Diet Mountain Dew or Mountain Dew Zero, and I will take a few sips out of it, and then I'll shake it and pull the carbonation off of it. I do the same thing with Pepsi.
Very strange.
I'm a weirdo. I get it. But so the combination of enjoying that Monster tea and recognizing the amount of time that I spend getting the carbonation out of carbonated beverages, I was like, well, why am I drinking carbonated beverages anyway?
Yeah, just skip a step.
Just skip it and see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
your choices will be drastically different, I would assume. Right?
So, yeah, I would think that I could do that Monster Rehab tea, or I could do hot tea, or I could do cold tea. But I don't want to drink calories either. So, and I feel like, I'll tell you, one of the things that I think is legit is that because I don't like drinking my calories, I just feel like there's a lot of garbage and nonsense in those 0-calorie beverages, carbonated beverages that I'm putting into my body. And I don't know what they are and what they do, but I don't know. I needed to pick something. What are you doing, Weber?
I can't improve on perfection, man. I'm just going full steam ahead.
Yes, sir.
I don't believe in that stuff, honestly. Like, yeah, if you need an excuse, if the calendar is going to tell you that, oh, you need to make changes in your life, you could have made those changes last week or the week before, or, in a couple months,
sure.
maybe.
I mean, but whatever. If the motivation is coming from a genuine place, whatever cranks you up.
I guess that's fair.
I mean, that's all right. It doesn't crank you up though. That's cool. I mean, as Mac Davis used to say, Lord, it's so hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way.
That's right. It's a tough gig.
Weber's theme song there. And I know that Ken Weavers has dedicated himself to leaving fewer beard hairs on the counters of the newsroom. So
I think Joan likes them.
Oh, well, maybe. Maybe it's a little connective tissue between the morning and the afternoon.
Only problem is I can't lie about it. I mean, if she was to go to management and say, Ken's leaving his beard hairs on the board, I couldn't say, well, they're not mine.
I don't know.
Because, they look exactly like mine. They're curly, white beard hairs, and they're all about a foot long.
Well, I kind of feel the same way about my long black hair in the studio. I can't really I can't fault Chad Benson. I don't know if anybody's seen Chad on the Super Talk television side of things. But he's Amanda's special coming up in here. And then, Chris Hand, I don't think Chris Hand has ever lost a hair. I mean, his are so perfectly placed.
Well, he's still young.
Oh, yeah. And it just, I feel like I'm what Chris Hand's going to look like after 25 years of radio. Right? The beard is, you know what I'm saying?
25 years. Wow.
I mean, you come in on it and your beard's perfectly shaped and just perfectly placed, and your hair's perfect. And then after 25 years, this is what you get. It's called a lot of give up. Yeah. A lot of give up in life.
I made my beard look like a football helmet one time. Made it look like a football face mask. And it still had color. It was just like a little strip from my sideburns. Came down underneath my chin, then it met with a goatee.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're doing there.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, well, I bet it looked nice.
It did. I mean, man, I had all the chicks chasing me.
All three of them.
That
was my mom saying, shave it, son.
You're never going to get out of the house looking like that.
Yeah.
We've got, let's start with the weather because, Weaver, I trust you. Even more than these weather people that come on from time to time.
All right.
And tell us what's going to happen. And they've been inundating us with this Friday forecast. So what
Yeah, boy, they've been raising the alarm.
They've been raising the flags that we're going to have some snow come Friday. So for those of us just now paying attention, and I understand we had a little dusting. That's nothing. I mean, up in Kentucky, I think Louisville got 7 inches or something like that. I mean, a lot of folks up in Kentucky. That storm just kind of the snow portion of it just missed us right on the Tennessee-Kentucky line. Mm-hmm. But I'm told that it will stay in the 30s throughout the week.
Yep.
And then what do you have for what happens on Friday?
Well, I'm going off what everybody else goes off of, even the weatherman and the weatherwoman, and that is the U.S. National Weather Service.
Okay.
It looks like we have snow showers likely mainly afternoon on Friday. Now, here's the deal. We're going to be about 35 degrees, so we're going to be above freezing. So there'll be some snow coming down, but, if it's 35 on the ground, well, it's going to melt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Friday night, we're going to get down to about 28, and there is a 50-50 chance that snow is going to still be falling.
Well, there you go.
Now, if we're 28 and there is a good amount of snow, we could see, as Channel 4's Dan Thomas said, we could see inches of snow.
Several.
I didn't hear him say several.
But inches.
Just inches.
Inches.
Yeah.
I have heard through the grapevine, in the hallways, it's all the chatter, 5 to 7 inches. That's what they're saying. I don't know who they are, and I don't know what the hell they would know about it.
Yeah, we're going to have 5 inches of snow.
I mean, that's what they're saying.
Over there by the water cooler?
Yeah, exactly. Were you there? Because that's where they were.
You can hear them from here.
I mean, that's what they were telling me. And when have they ever been wrong? I mean, come on.
Who's counting?
I mean, they know what they're talking about, right? Well, one way or the other, we'll keep you up to date right here. We'll give you the real dope, the real straight dope on Super Talk 99.7 WT, and we will not lead you astray.
No, sir.
On this Monday, Jan 6th, I got at 3:35 today. Let me just signpost where we're going with the show today. Always inviting you to call in. I love having communication and dialogue. I know I'm grumpy sometimes. I apologize. I'm your pit bull when you need me, okay? But I love having dialogue with you about the issues of the day, and we do so on a regular basis, 615-737-9986. At 3:35, we will welcome Michael Lotfi to the show. Michael is a part of the Americans for Prosperity group, and it is an organization that is very much behind the concept of a Tennessee Scholarship Fund. I understand that there's much debate. We're going to have pro and con. We're going to have people for it and people against it on the show as we discuss it. But this is the year. I think this is the make or break year for this Tennessee Scholarship Fund. We had some recent polling come out indicating that the majority of Tennesseans, take this polling data for what you will. You guys know me in polls, right? I don't buy them as far as I can throw them, some better than others. The real poll comes in the vote, and the real poll comes when these representatives in the General Assembly get the temperature of their home districts and decide where they're going to go with it as a result. That said, Lotfi is for it. Americans for Prosperity for it. So, and frankly, I am positioned to be in favor of this as well. Could be convinced otherwise, depending on the language of the bill. But it is something that is about to come right there in our laps, especially for those of you with children in the public school system. It's an opportunity or it's a dilemma, depending on your point of view. We'll discuss that at 3:35. Obviously, we're going to talk about the activity happening in Washington, D.C. over the course of this day. It is not only the day that Donald Trump was certified as the next president of the United States of America, but it's also a big-time anniversary. Big-time anniversary, especially for those in the mainstream media that think that they're the most important things walking the face of the earth. If you want to witness some of the most self-important human beings on planet Earth walk into a television, especially a national television newsroom, and talk to a television anchor or a reporter. Now, if you want to find someone that thinks they're more important than that person you're talking to, talk to the next one. If you want to find someone that thinks they're more important than those first two, talk to the next one. Because these folks think that everything begins and ends in the beltway between Washington, D.C. and New York City, and they can give a damn about flyover country. So Washington on January 6th, 2021, had all of the trappings of the I mean, when they tell you that they think this is one of the most important days in American history, they believe it because they think they're the most important people in American history, and they were impacted by it. And it seemingly confirmed all of their fears about what Donald Trump truly was. Of course, none of this is true. It's all nonsense. It's all pablum. We'll tell you the real skinny coming up in just a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Plus, Joe Biden's got a final bow in the last 2 weeks. Trudeau is out as Prime Minister of Canada. I think apparently Donald Trump broke him. It seems that way. Joe Biden offering the Medal of Freedom to anybody that would show up and some people that wouldn't. Joe Biden gave the Medal of Freedom to some soccer player, which ain't American. I don't care who likes it or doesn't. And he didn't even bother. He's not an American citizen. He came here to play soccer and make millions of dollars, and he didn't even bother to show up for the Medal of Freedom. And I know you don't have to be American to get the Medal of Freedom. I'm just making the point. A travesty. Plus congestion pricing, the latest on the Las Vegas Cybertruck deal. It's all to come. You just you sit right there. We're going to get through this. I'll feed you, baby birds. It's 21 after the hour on Super Talk. Hello, friends. This is Matt Murphy, and I would like to update you on exciting news from Brentwood Hearing Center. Their team of audiologists and doctors are always committed to providing patients with the most recent hearing aid technology available, and their leadership team recently announced the launch of the Phonak Sphere. This is incredible, folks. It is dedicated to helping patients hear well in situations where there is extensive background noise. Hearing aid technology has advanced so much in our lifetimes, and with this computer chip developed directly dedicated to address speech in noise, the Phonak Sphere will help you out at a dinner party, at a noisy restaurant, when you're visiting with customers or clients, or at a cocktail party, even attending a sporting event. If you're having difficulty hearing in group settings, go to Brentwood Hearing Center today. Really, if you're having difficulty hearing at all, I encourage you to contact Brentwood Hearing Center and schedule an appointment with one of their qualified audiologists today. They have over 30 years experience in this industry, in this community. 615-377-0420. 377-0420 or online at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. Brentwood Hearing Center, better hearing for a better life. I warned you this time of year was coming, right? We've been talking about it through November, December, and Jeff Eddy of Efficient Heating and Cooling is here for you now that the time is here. What is that time? Well, temperatures are getting up into the 32, 33 degrees. That means your heater is working as hard as ever, trying to keep it hot and nice and toasty inside of your home while it's cold, cold, cold outside. What happens if it can't keep up? Who do you call? Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. What happens if it goes out? Well, that's a serious matter, and you need to call Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. They'll get a technician over to your home. They'll fix what ails your heating system, and if it's time to replace, they'll tell you the bad news. And they're an Elite Pro partner with Rheem when that news comes, so they can replace with a great unit that's going to run efficiently for years and years to come. Bottom line is this: if your heater's not ready, call Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. He'll get to your home jiffy quick, never charge you overtime rates. That's his commitment to you. Plus, as I mentioned, an Elite Pro partner with Rheem. 615-784-4424 or efficienthvac.net. Efficienthvac.net.
It's going to be cold here in Middle Tennessee. We're talking about lows in the teens this week, even down in Florida. And Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear has a message for folks to the north of us. You might want to listen up. We'll tell you about it at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Ken Weaver. It is 27 minutes after the hour right now. Super Talk, thereabouts. I think my clock's a little off. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Am I still 20 seconds off?
It's 27:06, 7, 8,
Holy
9, 10.
Okay, I'm only 3 seconds off.
Not bad.
That's not bad. Although the little battery low light has been blinking on this bad boy for a while.
Uh-oh. Better find a 9-volt or whatever that thing takes.
It also, some sort of communist set this up because it also has the temperature in Celsius. And I don't appreciate that at all.
It's just wrong.
It is wrong. It's anybody want to guess what the temperature is in Celsius? According to this,
19 degrees.
Now I'm suspecting you're.
Is that close?
That's 20.8.
Yeah. Well, I just
Celsius.
kind of know what the normal comfortable temperature would be in Celsius.
Is that supposedly in here?
Yeah.
In the room?
Yeah.
Well, what good is that doing me?
No clue. Just in case you wanted to know.
I was passing one of our stablemates from one of our brother radio stations, Ron Slay, over at the sports station. And I asked Slay, I said, how are you on cold weather? Because I like cold weather. I mean, I dig it. I think you have said that you're a fan?
I do enjoy it. Yeah.
I do too.
Now, by the end of, February, beginning of March, I'm ready for it to go away.
Yeah, but see, I like all the seasons, and people think that I'm I like all of them. There are good things about all of them, and I enjoy them as they blossom, as they come about. And so I'm like you, that by the time I'm done with it, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to move on. And it's wonderful because Mother Nature has a tendency to listen to us. And she moves on right around the time where I'm like really sick of it. Like February.
Yeah, sometimes it can drag a little long.
Well, maybe.
But yeah, you're right. For the most part, it does kind of, by the time I'm done with the season is ending.
It's too hot, and suddenly it's football season, and it's getting cool outside.
Football.
Yeah. It's
like
that's title.
It's like what is that? What's the Pavlov's dog? Yeah, you say football, and Ken just chimes in with
football. That's what he said.
Football.
So yeah, we're gonna get some cold weather this week, and I love it. And I'm asking Slay about it, and he goes, "Oh man, I love the cold weather as long as I'm inside." I was like, "What?" Okay. He goes, "You know what I'm talking about, Murph?" I was like, "No, Ron, I don't know what you're talking about." He goes, "No, you sit inside, you watch it snow outside. Every once in a while, you go outside, feel how cold it is, come right back in." I was like, okay, all right. Okay.
I guess that's fair because that's kind of all I do.
I mean, right. It's not like we're hanging out.
Yeah.
We're urban outdoorsmen. One way or the other, I am digging the idea that there's going to be snow later on in the week.
Vulgar statement.
See, Weaver doesn't care for it. See, listen at him now.
Yeah. That hairy little man, you'd think he would be in favor of the snow.
Hey, what about...
That's only up till the 25th of December.
What about a nice pigskin game during the inclement weather?
Oh, I'll take that. Yes,
absolutely love it.
Yeah, that's
love
cool.
it. I love it when you can't see a football field and it's snowing so much.
Yeah,
and
that
they're
is
still playing
fun.
in it. That's a lot of fun. So 2 out of the 3 are looking forward to the snow. I like a good snow as long as you can drive it, as long as nobody loses their power. I mean, I don't want to cause anybody any personal issues, but outside of that, I love a good snow. Real quick before we go to Ken Weaver's newscast, many of you have asked, and I will respond. So a little update on Munson, because many of you have asked. So Munson got back home. I went to visit him on Friday after the show. I thought that he was going to have to stay overnight. He did not. They got tested back in. We do have some cancer, some rectal cancer of some sort. There's a little tumor back there. Oddly, what took him to the emergency vet was throwing up. They don't necessarily think the throwing up and the cancer is associated with one another.
Interesting.
Which would be incredible if he got into something that led us to an emergency clinic that diagnosed him with cancer. And apparently we've caught it maybe early enough where it's not spread. So the initial diagnosis was that it's not spread to his lymph nodes or his kidneys or liver. That's good news. So we've got to see an oncologist, and we can't see an oncologist for 2 weeks apparently. And so he's home. He's good. He's eating better. He's keeping food down. He's got knowledge of medicine, and we're all good. We're going to have surgery of some sort, and we'll figure it out from there once the oncologist talks to us. So I just wanted to update you, and thank you all so much. Y'all are so kind to offer me and the family and Munson thoughts and prayers. So I really do appreciate each and every one of you. It's 31, almost 32 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear asking everyone stay off the roads.
We're really racing against time because it is going to get really cold on Tuesday and Wednesday, especially, and Thursday. So we've got today and part of tomorrow to get power up to as many Kentuckians as we can, because with wind chill, it's going to get dangerously cold.
Channel 4 says Christian County crews have repaired some downed power lines there. It's going to be cold here in Middle Tennessee. Lows in the teens by Wednesday night. And ABC News senior meteorologist Melissa Griffin says even down in Florida.
That Arctic blast will stretch across so much of the eastern half of the country. From the Midwest all the way to the deep south, we already have cold weather advisories issued as far south as New Orleans, Mobile, Alabama, all the way down to Orlando, Florida, where it will feel like the 20s and 30s by tomorrow morning. This prolonged cold weather event will continue for much of the week, with wind chills in the Midwest below zero in some spots. And then, of course, in the Northeast, we'll have those single-digit to teen wind chill readings as we head through Thursday.
While bird flu case numbers in the U.S. have been rising, most have been mild. Louisiana was the first to report a serious case of bird flu, and now is the first to report a death. It was in a person who had been hospitalized with avian flu. The person was over the age of 65, had underlying health issues. That patient contracted bird flu after being around a backyard flock and some wild birds. President-elect Trump certified the winner of the 2024 election. Vice President Harris overseeing the count.
Members of Congress, the certificates having been read, the tellers will ascertain and deliver the result to the President of the Senate.
And Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announcing he plans to step down as the Liberal Party leader. He's got historically low approval ratings and has tremendous pressure on him. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, got road work that is blocking the right shoulder on 24 eastbound right before Harding Place. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Nashville Safe House. For years now, you've been telling me I've been telling you the importance of getting yourself a safe from Nashville Safe House. It's as simple as this, folks. You need to be able to protect those valuables that you hold precious, including the human valuables that are inside of your home. And through that, you protect those weapons that protect your home, your property, and your loved ones, right? How do you do that? Through theft or fire? You do it through Nashville Safe House. There's no better way to secure your valuables than to purchase a quality safe from Nashville Safe House. They have over 200 safes right there on the showroom floor and many, many more in their warehouse. Listen, folks, I want you to know a couple of things. One, they have a safe that's right for you. Number two, they simply want to sell you the safe that is good for you. Although Mark would tell you, if you think you're buying a safe that's big enough, especially if you're a gun enthusiast, buy a slightly bigger safe than you think you need, because I promise you, you'll fill it. Nashville Safe House has that safe for you, whether it's Browning, Fort Knox, Champion, Rhino. They have every brand you can imagine, and they've got a price point for you. Go to NashvilleSafeHouse.com, NashvilleSafeHouse.com, or stop by 4th Avenue South across from City Cemetery. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Nashville Safe House. Hello, gentlemen. It's Matt Murphy. Have you noticed a lack of energy, motivation, or drive? You know, it might be the winter blues, or it might be a struggle with your T level. One way or the other, you need to find out what's going on in your body, man, and you can do so with a men's-centric clinic like Tennessee Men's Clinic. Tennessee Men's Clinic has been around since 2014, and I believe in them because they focus on men's health. Specifically, even more so, they focus on your health when it comes to your energy levels and whether that manifests itself in the gym or perhaps in the bedroom. And guys, you know what I'm talking about. If you've lost a step or two in that regard, that's a personal issue, but one that needs to be dealt with. It's not going away on its own. Let's do that with the Tennessee Men's Clinic. If you go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com, you can find out so many of their different options available for you for success. And I encourage you to make the call that so many other men have made and schedule an appointment today. 2 locations, one in Franklin, Cool Springs area. The other is right here in Midtown. Give them a call at 615-208-9090. 208-9090. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Tennessee Men's Clinic. Check them out online at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 39 after the hour. Thank you for being with us on this Monday edition. It is our first full week of 2025, and we're pleased to have you with us. Obviously, the General Assembly is getting underway starting next week. We'll talk presidential politics and national politics in the 4 o'clock hour today. But right now, we welcome into our studios Michael Lotvey, and I always do the V instead of the F, and I apologize. But Michael is with the Americans for Prosperity, a group that obviously is in favor of change with regard to the manner in which we're educating our young people, particularly an ability for parents to have more choice in their school-age children's future. And Michael joins us to talk about the possibilities of what's coming up in the General Assembly. Michael, good afternoon, my friend.
Good afternoon, Matt. Can I just say real quick, I'm so happy to have you in this time slot.
That's very kind.
We'll miss your predecessor, but I'm really happy that you're here. You deserved it, and I look forward to hearing you on the air during this time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and we're looking forward to a 2025 filled with fun and a lot of news and information. And obviously, we'll miss Brian, but we're proud to be here. So give me a rundown, a lowdown. For those who don't know, let's start here. I always like to back up and say, Americans for Prosperity in the state of Tennessee, what do you guys do?
We are the state's leading grassroots advocacy group. So essentially what we do is we go out and we empower everyday average voters on how to really take control of their government. We want to see a situation where power no longer rests with the bureaucracy and the politicians, but the people. And what we do is we provide people the platform to really affect the change that they want to see in their lives. Most of the issues that we work on are really surrounding economics, constitutional limited government. We want low taxes, as low as they could possibly be. Obviously, school choice, which is what we're here to talk about today, as well as other issues like that. So really, truly, the nation's premier grassroots conservative organization is what we are.
And you've been around, and you guys have been around for how long?
So our chapter president, Tori Venable, her and Congressman Andy Ogles, he wasn't the congressman at the time, but they opened the state chapter here in 2014, I believe. Yeah.
All right,
and,
so about a decade now.
And there's been, as an organization as a whole, we've been around for more than 20 years.
And obviously our own Pamela Furr, who is well known to Super Talk 99.7 WTN, is now assisting you guys over at AP.
She's on staff with us, and she is one of the absolute best that you could ask for.
I mean, I asked for Pamela, and they gave me you. I don't know.
Well, it's a major downgrade. I'm sorry.
What issues are? I don't think there's any issue on your radar screen quite like the scholarship bill.
Yeah, not to this level.
Is there anything else that you're looking at in the General Assembly, or are you focused on that?
In the General Assembly, there's a couple of other things that we want to accomplish this year. So this year we want to pass a statewide property tax ban, a constitutional ban on that. So you would still have your local property taxes, of course. However, there is an effort by some, especially on the other side of the aisle, and of course we never know what the future holds. We never know who's going to be holding office in the future. And so what we want to do is we want to ban the potential of ever having a statewide property tax. We technically have one right now where it's just set to 0. Mm-hmm. And so at any moment they can literally decide to raise that to whatever rate they want to raise it to, and they're free to do so. So if we do a constitutional ban, it would make that a hell of a lot harder for them to do in the future. So some of our partners like the Beacon Center, they're working with us on that, as well as the Tennessee Farm Bureau. So there's a big push to get that done this year. I feel pretty confident that we're going to get that done. We're also wanting to start talking about the REINS Act, which is legislation to rein in the federal government. It's kind of like DOGE, kind of like what you see on the federal level, basically where we've moved so far away from the notion of legislators actually making the laws, and now the executive branch is making executive fiat. And so what we want to do is we want to come back and say, hey, look, if the executive branch wants a law that's going to have greater than $1 million impact, we want the entire General Assembly to be very involved in that and vote on that individually so that they can be held accountable and that they also have agency over that as well. So, we want to get away from a situation where voters or stakeholders come to their lawmakers and say, the department of whatever just passed this regulation, and then the lawmaker just says, yeah, that's bureaucracy. What are you going to do about it? There's nothing I can do because that came from the executive branch. So we want to get away from that. And through REINS, we can get there and get a lot more efficiency out of our government and a lot more accountability with the spending and the big bureaucracy.
And those two are probably ancillary. That's fair to say, to the central issue. And I think it's the central issue for the General Assembly.
It's a central. It absolutely is. I think that's why we're going to get a special session, actually. I think a lot of us want to go ahead and have a special session so that we can deal with it, get it done with, get it passed, and then we're out of there and not have to worry about it anymore as we go on to the General Assembly.
Let's talk about, before we talk about the specifics of the bill, let's talk about how that would work.
Sure.
It is my understanding, and you tell me what you're hearing on the ground, because you're down there all the time. You peek around the hallways of the General Assembly, and put your ear to the bathroom stalls or whatnot.
I do not do that. Don't say that. Please don't say that.
So to speak. That the idea being, and who knows if it comes down like this, sure, that they gavel in to the General Assembly session. The governor calls them into a special. That automatically pulls them out of their regular session into a special session. They can deal with the one thing that the governor has called them to do specifically. And I don't know if they gavel in first or what, but what are you hearing about?
So the way that'll work is essentially on the 14th, they'll gavel in. They have to swear everybody in. To have a special session, they have to gavel in first because you can't call one right now because we've already sine-died from the previous. So that we'll have to swear everybody in on the 14th. Now, there's a little debate on the timing. I think what we're going to see, though, is that they'll gavel in on the 14th. They'll go to recess because we we've got the inauguration coming up. A lot of members, myself included, we're going to go to the inauguration. And so, it's just not going to happen that week. And then what also has to happen
By the way, side note, you get any tickets to that?
Do you need tickets?
No, I don't need any tickets. We asked for I contacted Andy's office and they said, well, we don't have any tickets. I didn't ask for a Matt Murphy radio host. I just asked for Matt Murphy citizen.
I can find you a ticket. If
No, I'm not asking for them.
Well,
I was curious.
We're going to get you a ticket if you don't.
No, I don't. No, I'm going to be here, so I don't need it. Give it to somebody that needs it. Anyway, go ahead.
So, anyways, they'll have to gavel in, and
I just took the opportunity to ding Andy. That's really all that was for, because I contacted Andy's office and said, hey, can we have a couple of tickets? And they go, well, you know what? We only have so many. And the inauguration's free, so just go to the mall and enjoy.
We've got to get you two loving back on each other. That was a brilliant time when everybody was happy.
Contacted him over the holidays, and I'll tell you what I said in a moment. But continue your thought. How does this work?
So what'll happen is that we've got to gavel in. They'll the speakers will call a recess for folks to go on to the inauguration, and then the governor actually has to give a notice for a special session. So I believe it's 6 or 7 days that he actually has to give a notice, like a public notice, that he's going to call one. I believe that's the case, and I think what we're going to see is that date will. I think we're probably looking at like the 27th for a special session if it happens. And my understanding is the 27th of this month, of course. And I believe that's probably going to be a special session for two things. One thing being disaster relief for the East Tennessee counties that were affected by the hurricanes, and then school choice as well will probably be in that as well.
This is the scuttlebutt that
That's
you were
hearing. Scuttlebutt for what it's worth. And things are obviously always subject to change.
I've been hearing for several months, and this is for what it's worth too. But I've been hearing for several months that those are the basic parameters of the plan.
Yeah.
The idea being that we don't want the debate over the scholarship bill to take over the general session.
Right.
So if
I don't think anybody wants that win lose. Well, I'm sure the left would love it for chaos.
Whatever.
But exactly.
And I understand that there's a general discussion amongst conservative-minded people about whether or not this is the best step forward. And I frankly think more than less are in favor of some form of scholarship bill. We've seen two very different polling centers, the Beacon poll and the Vanderbilt poll, both come to the same conclusion that a majority of Tennesseans, and particularly a fair majority of Republicans in the state of Tennessee, are in favor of something like this. Tell us what your understanding of the bill is.
So let me speak to the polls real quick. So, when the left has lost the Vanderbilt poll, that's a big deal, right? Because everybody knows.
Know your source.
It's a well-known fact that over the years, Vandy has always overweighted their polls to the left, and they couldn't even come up with numbers to show that school choice was unpopular in their own poll, which is just remarkable. Now, I got to say on the Beacon Center, what's really fascinating about the Beacon Center and why you can always pretty much take their polls to the bank is because the Beacon Center actually uses a very nonpartisan pollster. So it's not a conservative pollster. It's not a liberal pollster. It is one of the most nonpartisan pollsters. So theirs are pretty reputable. But I heard you earlier say you don't really care what the polls say and blah, 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 and you don't really trust them. That's totally fine. I'm mostly in agreement with you. You know what poll I care the most about is the data that was released from the ESA program a couple of weeks ago that said parents who have ESA students, 99% of them approve of having that ESA. They are satisfied with the education that their child is now getting.
ESA standing for?
Education Savings Account School Choice. So we have a pilot program currently for Davidson, Hamilton, and Shelby counties, where in those failing schools, which are some of the worst failing schools in the state, those students get school choice. And that we have seen remarkable numbers, absolutely remarkable numbers out of those students. Just growth, double growth what their public schools are, what their public school cohorts are getting in their testing, double the growth in improvements from these kids. And their parents are saying 99% of them, literally 99%, approve of having that school choice ESA. 99%. That's the only poll I care about. Is what
99%. And you would call that a satisfaction rate, then?
That is 99% satisfaction, whereas the satisfaction with public schools is in the 40s.
So I feel like we've discussed this to the point that most in the audience have a basic understanding of what the bill would do and what the scholarship fund what its purpose would be. But describe it for the folks who aren't familiar.
At the crux of the issue, there's some minutia, which I'm happy to go into when we have more time. At the crux of the issue, it's where does the money go? Does it go to an institution of public education, or should it follow the child wherever the child goes? That's all this bill does. This bill says if a child wants to go to a private school, then their tax dollars that are already assigned to that child will follow them wherever they go. Instead of saying, you know what, no, if you want to go to a private school, we're going to force you to pay for education twice. You're going to have to pay for the public schools that you don't use, and then you can go, if you're wealthy enough, and you can pay again to send your kid to private school. So that's what the bill does, plain and simple. It just allows parents to take the dollars that are already actually, the truth is, it's actually fewer dollars. So it's a net taxpayer savings. So in Tennessee, on average, we spend anywhere from $10,000 to $14,000 of taxpayer dollars to educate a child in public schools. If a student takes the ESA, they only get $7,000. So we're looking at a massive net savings to taxpayers for when parents do decide that they're going to use an ESA instead.
We'll get to some questions regarding the specifics of the legislation in just a moment. Michael Lotfie's with us for another 5 or so minutes after the break, so we'll have him for a few moments. It's the beginning of a robust conversation that will occur. And by the way, for 1972, who is accusing me of being like CNN, you only tell your side of the story. 2 ways to lie, flat out and omission. I invite anyone on this issue, no matter your position on the issue, to come on my radio show and to discuss the issue. You included 1972, and I got your number. 615-737-9986. Back after this. Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Grace Point Healthcare. Affordable, convenient, and comprehensive medicine for you. Let's discuss it. Grace Point is a direct pay primary care provider, meaning that all the treatment decisions are made between you and the medical staff of Grace Point Healthcare, not your insurance company. Whether you pay by the visit or you enroll in the Smart Care Plan option, you know you're getting exceptional care at an affordable price, and all of the decisions are made between you and your physician, which is so very important. Grace Point is a military veteran-owned practice. Patients are treated naturally whenever possible, and at Grace Point, they believe that vaccinations are a personal choice between you and your provider, and all vaccinations are administered with preservative-free ingredients. They're located in the heart of Franklin, and I encourage you to make them your healthcare provider. Call 599-6868 to schedule your next medical appointment today. That's 599-6868 for Grace Point Healthcare. You really can afford exceptional medicine at your convenience. Grace Point Healthcare, modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, friends, Defend Systems is your one-stop shop for all things safety when it comes to your place of business, your school, or your church. Let's discuss. Brink Fiddler has run Defend Systems, which is a life safety and security consultation firm since its foundation. Their expertise lies in their experience. They have generational experience when it comes to securing your property, active shooter response, workplace violence, site surveys, emergency and intruder action plans. Listen, folks, bottom line is this. Hope is not a plan when it comes to your safety or the safety of your employees, the school people that come into your facility, or your church members. You need to get trained. And the one and only shop that I will recommend is Defend Systems. They can customize to your specifications. Give them a call at 615-236-6484, 236-6484, or go online to defendsystems.com. That's defendsystems.com.
Well, we'll tell you a little bit more about this snow that could accumulate coming up at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Inches, I tell you. Not inches. That's on the way. I don't know if that's the real news or not. Ken Weaver will tell you. It is 57 after the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. About 3 more minutes with our man Michael Lotfi, and we will look, this is the beginning of a conversation, and I just want to make sure. Anyone that is anti the scholarship fund, you're willing to talk to anybody about this at any time, right?
Anytime. Let's debate it. We'll have a friendly debate.
What do you understand? The disagreements with this, the one that I hear more than anything is that we don't need more government involvement in our private school systems. What's your response?
First and foremost, the bill itself literally spells out private school protections, like that the government can do nothing whatsoever to mandate anything on private schools. It's literally in the bill. Second, we don't have to give parents and taxpayers back their money to mandate anything on private schools. The state has all the power in the world to do that currently if it wanted to. If Speaker Sexton, Jack Johnson, the Governor Lee wanted to do that, they could do it at any moment without passing school choice. They don't have to give parents back their money in order to mandate things on private schools. However, Speaker Sexton, Jack Johnson, and Governor Lee are 3 incredible conservatives. Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally. These guys are some of the most conservative folks you could ask for leading and running our state right now. And I have zero concerns with that happening, because if they wanted to do that, they could do it today. They could do it yesterday. They don't have to give parents back their money to mandate things on private schools or homeschools for that matter.
I mean, my primary goal is to give parents maximum ability to determine the fate of their own children when it comes to their own children's education. Yeah. And if we can create a dynamic by which we dilute an inability to pay for a better educational system, then that's fine with me. What about the argument from some within the conservative community that it's not my job to pay for the education of your kids, and this is funneling money through the state, through my tax dollars, to your children? I mean, it's $140 million of state money, right?
No, there's no such thing as state money. There's taxpayer money, which doesn't belong to the state. It belongs to the taxpayers.
So why is it my job, a childless Tennessean, that I would have to pay for the education of your kids?
Because you already do. You already do. You pay through your property taxes. Okay. You already educate children through your property taxes. Now, what I would love more than anything, I think you agree with me, is we would love for people to not have to pay for that in the first place unless they actually have kids. However, that's not the reality of the situation we find ourselves in. The reality is that you already do. And so what we want to see is we want to see parents, if that money is going to be spent, it shouldn't go to an institution. It should go straight to the parents. Look, this isn't even up for debate with real conservatives. President Trump, J.D. Vance, Governor Lee, they all support school choice. Marsha Blackburn. It's real conservatives are for this, or for school choice. Not even up for debate.
It is a great opening salvo from Michael Lotfi with Americans for Prosperity. We'll have you back, my friend. We've run out of time, but we will do it again very soon.
Absolutely.
There's Michael. We'll be back in a moment. Your thoughts on this, your comments, coming on up. It's 4 o'clock on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Channel 4's Dan Thomas says get ready for snow on Friday. He's talking about 2 to 4 inches possible in places. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Even if it doesn't snow, it's going to be bitterly cold. And Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, whose state has been hit hard, says everyone just needs to stay home in Kentucky. ABC News senior meteorologist Melissa Griffin has more.
More than 50 million Americans from Kentucky to Washington, D.C. remain under winter storm warnings as the first major winter storm of 2025 barrels across the mid-Atlantic. That will continue through this evening. Another batch of snow could impact the Washington, D.C. and Baltimore areas.
United States now has its first fatal case of bird flu. While bird flu case numbers in the U.S. have been rising, most have been mild. Louisiana was the first to report a serious case of bird flu, and now is the first to report a death. It was a person who had been hospitalized with avian flu, the person over the age of 65 and had underlying health issues, and caught it after being around a backyard flock of wild birds. Donald Trump certified the winner of the 2024 election today. Vice President Harris running the joint session of Congress to do it.
The Senate and House of Representatives are meeting in joint session.
Vice President Harris, serving in her role as President of the Senate, stood before a full House chamber as the electoral votes from each of the states were read aloud. Every time a Trump-won state was announced, Republicans cheered. Democrats did the same for blue states. Harris had the final word.
Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes.
When it was over, Harris received a bipartisan standing ovation. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announcing he plans to step down. Here's ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pennell.
We had this significant resignation of the Deputy Prime Minister in December last year, which was pretty much a damning indictment of Trudeau. His personal opinion, poll ratings, according to polls conducted in Canada, as well as the ratings of the Liberal Party that runs this ruling coalition, in an election year, elections are due to be held by September, are historically low. So there's been huge amounts of pressure on Trudeau.
Here in Middle Tennessee, police say the person who fired at the Walmart in Lebanon on Saturday is still on the run. Fired a gun, I should say. It was between the suspect and another person. Isolated incident, but the store was put on lockdown. The neighborhood told to shelter in place. 33-year-old Lebanon resident Elizabeth Brown telling News 2 it's something she never thought could happen. Now she carries a taser.
My daughters come here, and they're young mothers, and one of them has 4, and one of them has 2 children, so that concerns me a lot. Most of the time, they're by themselves.
Now, police say the suspect is a black man who was wearing a black jacket, gray sweatpants, and driving a green vehicle. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, got a crash. Murfreesboro Pike, just west of Hamilton Church Road in Antioch. Also in Antioch, road work blocking the right shoulder 24 eastbound right before Harding Place. 24 westbound after Maxey Road in Cedar Hill. Got a crash there. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, thank you, Big Voice Guy. My name is Matt Murphy. Like the man said, it's 7 minutes after 4 o'clock, and this is the Matt Murphy Show. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's brought to you by U.S. Pest. Every hour brought to you by U.S. Pest, and I appreciate J.K. Brister, Erica Brister, and the rest of the team over at U.S. Pest for everything that they do, not only to bring you this radio show, but what they do to prevent pests in your life. Well, I'm the one pest that they can't prevent in your life.
I was going to say, it seems like they'd be trying to get rid of you.
You would think I would be well up on their radar screen, but apparently no. It just goes that way. Talk TV is up and running. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. You can find us, like us, and subscribe to us. Give us the old thumbs up over there. We need as much help as we can get. That's Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. You can find us on our app. Download us and take us wherever you go, or any app of your choosing that you use for music or information. We're there. Just type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Already an hour in the books, and a lot of excitement regarding the scholarship plan that is in place and will be introduced either in a special session or in a general session coming up in just about a week or so. I've already scheduled, or I'm attempting to schedule with an aforementioned super texter, 1972, an opportunity to speak to someone who is against this plan. I am open for all of this. Look, I'm predisposed. Here's where I'm at on it, okay? I am predisposed with giving maximum ability for parents to determine the education of their kids without interference from government entities, particularly those government entities that act as monopolies. Anything that infuses competition within the choice system that the parents have, I'm in favor of, generally speaking. Generally speaking. But I could be made aware of aspects of all of this that would turn me against it. I don't have any kids, so I don't have skin in the game. But I am, generally speaking, in favor of more school choice for parents, but could be made aware of aspects of this that would turn me against it. But here's the thing, folks. If we do that, then you have to tell me what some alternate plans might be for the kids in the Metro Nashville school system, or in Shelby County, Tennessee, or in these other failing areas, because public school is failing many, many of our public school students. Now, you might be the exception. And there are plenty of public school exceptions. I understand that. But this is not, in my estimation, the status quo is not an option right now. Not in Tennessee, not in Alabama, not in Georgia, not in Kentucky, not in Mississippi, not in California. The public education system at large is slowly but surely failing, which is one of the reasons that I'm in favor of eliminating the Federal Department of Education, bringing those monies and those decision points back to the individual states, because this nonsense about, well, people move state to state, Matt, and we have to have we have consistency in the educational opportunities of our young people. The only thing that the Federal Department of Education brought with it was federal control. That's it. They've improved nothing. 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 One more time, a little higher. Nothing. Y'all tell me if I'm wrong. I doubt it. 11 minutes after 4, 615-737-9986. That said, all of that to say that I am welcoming anyone and everyone on this issue because I want to be I want to be a point of conversation when it comes to this issue. I want to be a go-to source for information on this issue. And I understand in order to be that, if I'm predisposed to agree with this legislation, I need to bring people on who are disagreeable of this legislation and allow them to express their disagreements. So if that is the previous caller or the previous texter who gave me the name of Shannon Duncan, this is apparently the husband of Shannon Duncan, who is a doctor. He put doctor all in caps, so I assume we want to say the word doctor before her name, I guess. Dr. Shannon Duncan of Tullahoma City Schools would love to debate anyone on this subject. So, yeah, I'm ready to have you. And this gentleman, 1972, says that he's made contact. So anytime, we'll figure out a date and time, and we'll get you on, and we'll talk about the issue. Now, real quickly, and I'll get you a few of your calls, we're watching as the left slowly but surely sees its leftist media narrative slip out of its fingertips. Earlier today, the future president of the United States of America, his electors were certified by the House of Representatives, by the assembled masses in the Congress of the United States of America, overseen by Vice President Kamala Harris. Sadly, I say that the poor, pitiful media will not have this narrative to carry around anymore. And if you're wondering why it's such a sad day for them, and they have reminded you, I mean, I've watched some of these networks, so you don't have to. I mean, the hashtag never CNNs of the world. I watch CNN, so you don't have to. And I call it hashtag never CNN because you should never watch CNN. It is a garbage network full of garbage people spewing, wait for it, garbage. And I put that on myself. It's an occupational hazard that I take on. They pay me to do this. You don't have to do this. I'll do this for you. That said, they had their lips pooched out. It's a sad day. 4 years ago today. And look, I understand that January 6, 2021 was a bad day. I think any reasonable human being understands that it was a bad day. There were protests that got well out of hand. However that happened is a point of public debate because I do not believe that the full story has ever been told about January 6th. But it is clear that since that time, those individuals that participated on any level, many of them have been persecuted well beyond their participation in any protest event that got out of hand. Obviously, anybody that hit a cop, anybody that busted up the Capitol, those people have to be dealt with. Anyone else? We could walk through the Jan 6, 2021 subject from now until 7 o'clock or all week long. I don't feel a desire to do that again, but I do find it almost comical that the media is seemingly so sad about this day, but they're not sad because it was a dark day in democracy. They're not sad because of what happened. They're sad because they don't have this narrative to kick around anymore, and they know it. There is no legitimate excuse to continue talking about this anymore. Well, yeah, Matt, but today's the anniversary. Yeah. Now we're done. Let's move on. The man was reelected. The people have spoken about how they feel about regurgitating, vomiting yet again the details of that day. Let's go. Let's move on. That's why the media is it's telling you that it's such a somber day today. Such a somber day. No, it's a great day for America. By the way, America and our representative republic overcame what happened at the Capitol on January 6th. Not because of the media, not because of the liberals, because we are America. And anyone suggesting that America wasn't going to overcome that doesn't really believe in America that much. They didn't on January 7th, 2021, and they don't on January 6th, 2025. Anyone that has the audacity to tell you that democracy, quote unquote, was in peril on January 26th doesn't really have a robust belief in our democracy, do they? That said, let's talk to Campbell in Nashville. Hey, Campbell, what's going on?
How you doing today?
Yes, sir. I'm doing good. Thank you.
I want to. He made a comment earlier about $14,000 per child, and how many kids are in private schools today? And if the first 2 weeks of the school year, everybody took their kids out of private school and sent them to public school, what mayhem would they have then?
Wait, if everybody took their kids out of private school and put them into public school? What now?
Yeah, for the first week of classes.
Are you suggesting they would do that so they could get the money and pull back? Why would they do that?
Right. It's a way to protest. Hey, we want you to fund this for us.
Well, they couldn't do that only because it's my understanding that's not how the scholarship program works. You have to apply. You have to pre-apply for the scholarship. You have to be approved. There's only 20,000 of the scholarships, according to the legislation right now. The first 10,000 go to need-based applicants first, and then
Correct. But it sends a message if you have that many kids turn around and show up at the public school first day of classes.
What
they would then have to figure something out pretty quick.
I'm confused. I'm not trying to be. I'm genuinely confused. What message are we sending?
We're sending there is a need for this scholarship because we can't handle all those kids if they did come to public school.
So you're saying there's not, or there is a need?
I think there is a need for it.
Okay.
Definitely there is a need for it, for need-based as well as whatever there, but that's one way to show a force for those people that are behind that wanting to get that done.
Well, I would certainly agree with you, Campbell, on your overall point that the public education system is not properly educating the kids that they currently have, so they sure as heck aren't going to properly educate them if they were infused with however many kids are currently in the private system. I agree with you there.
Right, but it also then lets them understand, maybe they've underfunded those kids. Maybe it should be $20,000 per kid. Who knows?
Well, I've been saying this for a long time, Campbell, and I don't know that we'll get an answer today, but it's been a regular that anybody that thinks that it's money that prevents better education in the public school system, all I ask you to do is to tell me how much money we need to spend per pupil to guarantee me A's. Just tell me.
Right.
You know, I mean, because they can. And thank you for the call, and thank you for the suggestion. I don't disagree with it. I mean, there's a lot of people in private schools today because of their lack of belief in the public education system and their desire to get their kids the best educational opportunity possible. Now, some are going because of religious or faith-based beliefs. Maybe there are, legacies involved. But for the most part, parents aren't cutting that check because they want to. They're cutting that check because they feel like they need to. And they feel like they need to out of a sense of the best educational opportunities for their kid. As far as the last point, I just want to make sure I go over it again because I know sometimes I talk too fast. I get it. There has been, and I'm not saying that this is the argument that the previous caller was making, but there has been a general argument on the part of the political left that the problem with public education isn't the unions. The problem of public education isn't the bureaucracy. The problem with public education isn't the administrative bloat. The problem is we don't spend enough money. I've heard it over and over again. Money is not a problem in our educational system, in my opinion. You have a lot of issues going into the public education system, and I don't believe money's one of them. If money solves the problem, and you believe it is a lack of funding that is the central factor in whatever failures we would agree on in the public education system, I would ask you then how much money will fix it? If we're currently at a D, then how much money per pupil will get us to a B? Just tell me. If it's all about money, you ought to be able to tell me that. If it's primarily about money, then you should be able to tell me that. So, I'm willing to listen. So if it's $14,000 currently per pupil, and I'll take Lotfie's word at it, then is it 20? Is it 25? Is it 30? Is it 50? If we spent $50,000 per pupil, you can guarantee me a B-plus average? And you know what you always get? Well, of course we can't. Well, whoa, I thought it was all about money. Seems that maybe it's about more than just money. And if we get there, then we can start talking about the real issues that might have an impact. It is 21 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. More of your calls coming up next. Are you tired of living in pain? Feel like no one's really listening to you when you talk about your pain? You know, you have a choice when it comes to care. And at the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief, I can tell you from personal experience, it works. I had debilitating back pain. I had debilitating neck pain. And I have alleviated most of that pain in my life. Now, I will tell you that my lower back pain is going to be with me probably for the rest of my life because of some of the abuses that I put my back through in my 20s and my 30s. However, the Dr. Gill Center's made it tolerable. Not only tolerable, I don't feel it most days. Thank you to the Dr. Gill Center. Because of their advanced technologies, because of the red light therapy, the spinal decompression, and the rest of the therapies that they offer, I can go play golf, I can live a pain-free life, I can put up Christmas decorations like I was doing over the weekend, all of that pain-free and without having to pop pills, without having to consider needles to block the pain, or certainly not surgery. 615-882-4838 is the number. 615-882-4838. Call for that appointment today. You could be pain-free in 2025 with the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief online at callmepainfree.com.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spice and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in.
So, friends, it is soup and stew and chili season, and at Savory Spice, they have everything to up the game when it comes to soups and stews and chilies or anything that you like during the cold weather months. Savory Spice, 2 locations to serve you for any and all of your spice needs. If you're thinking of restocking, it's time to get to Savory Spice to see the Savory Spice difference. I encourage you to do that. Now, if you're already an aficionado and you know that the best spices come from Savory Spice, what about some of their specialty blends that are available for the chili or the stew or the soup that you're looking to make? Or you can try the Spice and Easy line of products. Plus, if you have a birthday or some sort of celebration coming up and you know someone that loves to cook in your life, Savory Spice is the place to go. It's one-stop shopping for all of those types of things. Savory Spice, one location's in Franklin, off the square next to Gray's Pharmacy. The other, L&L Market on Charlotte Pike right here in Nashville. Go and see the Savory Spice difference. And when you do, tell the locally owned and operated Savory Spice, Holly, Dave, and the rest of the crew that Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice.
Tracking the potential for measurable snow for the morning commute this week. This story and more at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, 26 after the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A lot of question about And I knew that this would somewhat take over our conversation. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. And I just want to give you a sense of where we're going with it. We will take your calls, your concerns, your comments on this until 5, and then we'll move on to some other issues because I know many of you have questions, concerns, or you want the opportunity to voice your opinion on the matter. So we'll take the calls until, roughly 5 o'clock. We'll cut it off then and move on to a few other things. 615-737-9986. John is next up in Middle Tennessee. He joins us on the Matt Murphy Show. Hello, John.
Hello, Matt. I love hearing you on the afternoons. Get to hear you more often now. I miss Brian, but glad to have you there in that slot.
Thank you, sir.
He was always a huge proponent of the school choice, and he was really condescending towards folks that had any other opinion towards it. Kind of threw me off because, you always got to look at the unintended consequences of all legislation, especially big sweeping stuff like this. I'm all about giving people back their tax dollars. Nobody's better at spending my money than me. I don't want someone having it, and doing theirs when I can put it towards my children. But in the case of school choice, when you give people opportunities to move their kids around, it leaves a lot of kids in a bubble or a vacuum of depression. What's the difference between a teacher that is a 5-level teacher and a teacher that is a 1-level teacher? What's the difference between those two teachers?
So you're asking what's the difference between a 5-level teacher and a 1-level teacher?
Yes. What's the difference between those two people?
I have no idea.
How a kid did on a test one day. It doesn't have anything to do with what their entire year's, preparation, work ethic, anything like that. A school, a 5-level school and a 1-level school is collectively separated by how kids did on one day of a test.
Yeah, well, let me stop you for a minute. I'll let you finish on the other side. I don't want to interrupt your train of thought, but let's talk about that for a minute. So, how else do you want to do it?
Well, 10 years ago, let's even go back to 15. Tennessee was the fastest growing state in school achievement. And what did they do? They didn't like it like that because there's an ulterior motive here. They want to kind of mess up the public school system, so they've changed all the state standards, how they're written, how they're worded.
What? Because they were
we were the fastest improving state 15 years ago.
So you were Are you saying we were doing well in 2010? I don't know. I wasn't here.
I said our schools were improving faster.
Yeah, but if I'm the slowest car in the field and I move up from last to next to last, I can say I'm the fastest proving. You know what I mean? That's not a measurable that I can get behind. If I'm last and I move up to next to last, then I've dramatically improved my position, but I'm still next to last.
Nevertheless, we were making gains, and they changed it up to make everyone feel like they're losers again. And I'm telling you,
who's they?
The kids, teachers, school systems. They feel demoralized with that test. And at the end of the day, schools are basically graded on that one test.
What one test? What one test are you talking? John, you got to slow down so I can ask questions. Okay, so we can have a dialogue. What one test are you talking about?
The TCAP test, where at the end of the year,
So in other words, the teachers don't want to be held accountable when we find out that. No, John, I'm not trying to interrupt you. Try not to interrupt me. So,
yes, sir.
The teachers don't want to be held accountable during that period in time that we find out what the kids don't know.
No, not at all. In fact, we are observed numerous times showing that we are doing our job. Promoting the curriculum, engaging the students, having them respond in kind, deeper thinking questions beyond the textbook. This stuff goes on throughout the year, but all of that is thrown to the side based off of how that one test goes, and that test does not encompass how that kid's feeling that day.
So
how that kid, they even care about that.
So you're telling me. Wait a minute, John. Stop monologuing.
Cutting me
John,
off.
I'm trying to have a dialogue. You're not going to get a monologue, John. I'm trying to have a dialogue with you, and I'm going to put you on hold to promote that dialogue. You're on hold, John. I have not cut you off, but you keep saying. I mean, you're telling me that because of how kids feel, that's why they're failing their tests. That doesn't. It sounds like a big excuse, John. I'm just being honest with you. You can think that's unfair. I'll give you an opportunity to retort right after the news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Channel 4's Lisa Spencer says Friday morning could be troublesome for commuters.
Roads should deteriorate very, very quickly. And in terms of accumulation, no kidding, we could see several inches. This is the right setup for a storm here in Middle Tennessee. It's a storm that's going to dive to the south. And this is always the correct recipe for us to get a south-moving storm and then that cold air coming in from the north. So it looks as though this go around, we are going to get some more accumulating snow.
Yeah, I got the full forecast traffic in 5 minutes. Meanwhile, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear telling everyone in his state, stay off the roads another day.
And we're really racing against time because it is going to get really cold on Tuesday and Wednesday, especially, and Thursday. So we've got today and part of tomorrow to get power up to as many Kentuckians as we can, because with wind chill, it's going to get dangerously cold.
The electoral votes that will see Donald Trump taking the oath of office in 2 weeks counted before a joint session of Congress this afternoon.
Members of both parties gave Kamala Harris a standing ovation as she became the first vice president to announce her own top-of-the-ticket defeat since Al Gore's loss 24 years ago. It was the same duty that then Vice President Mike Pence steadfastly performed after rioters were finally cleared from the Capitol in 2021. Vice President-elect J.D. Vance was on hand in the House chamber to watch today's tallying. He received several slaps on the back from fellow Republicans 2 weeks before his swearing in.
That's Stephen Portnoy reporting. United States now has its first fatal case of bird flu.
Well, bird flu case numbers in the U.S. have been rising. Most of the cases have been mild. Louisiana was the first to report a serious case of bird flu and now is the first to report a death. It was in a person who had been hospitalized with avian flu or bird flu. The person was over the age of 65 and had underlying health issues. That patient got bird flu after being around a backyard flock and wild birds.
And getting some breaking news out of New York City, where it looks like the Associated Press says a New York judge has denied President-elect Donald Trump's request to postpone his Friday sentencing while he appeals. That'll be for that hush money case. And that's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Antioch, crash, Murfreesboro Pike, west of Hamilton Church Road. Antioch, road work, right shoulder block, 24 eastbound before Harding Place. South Nashville got a crash, Murfreesboro Pike just east of Foster Avenue. Then in West Nashville, police working a crash, Charlotte Pike just east of I-40. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
If you're having difficulty hearing, I encourage you to deal with this because, frankly, folks, this issue is likely not going away. I mean, maybe you need your ears cleaned. Maybe there's something that's happening that can be correctable. Or maybe you're losing slowly but surely your hearing, and it's not going to correct itself, and you need the team of audiologists at Brentwood Hearing Center to give you a comprehensive examination. Ronnie and his team are so good at what they do. They've been around for a long, long time. They've seen a lot, and they've seen the incredible advancements in hearing aid technology that are now available to you, like the Phonak Sphere that I tell you all about all the time. If you're having difficulty hearing conversation where there's background noise, and who doesn't get around situations where there's significant background noise, whether at a sporting event or at a dinner somewhere, then they need to talk to you. They want to talk to you. They want you to schedule an appointment today to talk about their Phonak Sphere or any of the incredible technologies available to you from Brentwood Hearing Center. Brentwood Hearing Center likes to say better hearing for a better life. It's true because so many people kind of check out of life when they lose their hearing. Don't be that person. Make the call today, 615-377-0420, 377-0420, or online at BrentwoodHearingCenter.com. Brentwood Hearing Center. Better hearing for a better life.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's not my first time around the block, friends. So I know an issue as dynamic and contentious as this can take over. So we're suspending conversation on the school choice issue right around 5 o'clock today. And we'll take it back up at a different day. But I wanted to introduce it because it is coming up hot and heavy. A week from, well, tomorrow? Is that right? Yeah, a week from tomorrow. I think the General Assembly gavels into session as we begin the next year of consideration of things like the school scholarship plan. Now, I've been accused, I didn't want to cut John off without him making his point. John is, I believe, John is, are you an educator? Are you in the education system?
That is correct.
Okay. Yes. So I didn't want to cut you off, and I apologize there. You know, I'm not trying to interrupt you, but you don't like the end of year testing because you believe that it is not a true representation of where we are from our public school systems standpoint. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And there's the weight of it versus who's responsible for it. I believe if people came in, observed the classrooms, how they're being managed, how the work that kids are doing day in and day out, they wouldn't be calling these 1 and 2 level schools failures, but they're getting that label because of one test. And these kids love them, but a 9-year-old who might have just lost a grandparent is being forced to take that test. They cannot postpone it. They cannot, suspend it for that year. That kid has to take that test. They don't care about that test in that moment. And they're going to perform like they don't care about that test because they don't understand the repercussions of how it reflects back on the school, the district, and funding. They don't care because they're 9. And the parents don't incentivize them. In fact, for 20% of our students in public schools, their parents do not care about the school beyond the daycare system. There's another 20% of kids that are behind and would love to do better, but because they've already been held back once, they cannot be held back again, so they are perpetually behind and lost. And it's hard with the ratio of 30 to 1 to be able to work with that kid and bring them back up to speed. Now, the whole thing is, and I've gotten way off topic of just part of the problems, but was with the school choice, you have a nice heterogeneous mixture of kids in a school. It's very diverse. But if you take those kids whose parents are actively involved and they pull them out to put them somewhere else, now you don't have hardly any active parents or students, that have that in their toolbox helping them out. So the leftover kids in that school, and I hate to call it leftover, are just taking up space, and that school continues to fall further and further and further behind. The teachers and the people that are working there are all labeled as ones and fired. And then what do you have to educate them? You have New Jersey, where they're just giving anybody a license that will sit in a classroom, because they've just suspended all requirements to be a teacher in New Jersey. Because they can't.
We're not. Well, I think we are kind of off topic now that we're talking about New Jersey. But I hear you laying responsibility for performance in a lot of places. What responsibility do the schools have themselves, if any, to get better?
Well, we're all held accountable. Nobody's job is, a given and a guarantee. I do believe performance should be a factor of that.
I don't know where you teach. How many teachers were fired because of a lack of performance last year?
I'm not allowed to divulge that.
I'm not asking where you teach.
I will say
I don't believe that teachers in the public sector are held to the same account as anyone within the private sector with regard to job performance. How about that?
There's old school tenured people in certain situations, and certainly nepotism steps into that, where some can do no wrong and some can do no right.
Understand where I'm coming from, John, because I don't know you, and I'm not asking to know you, but you have so far blamed them. You didn't tell me who they were, but you blamed them from 15 years ago. You blamed the kids because they have problems at home. You blamed the parents. And I've yet to hear any responsibility being laid at the people who are actually charged with the duty of teaching the kids.
There are bad teachers everywhere, just like there's bad employees everywhere. But the majority of the people that I've worked with are working their tails off, and yet they have no actual – they do contribute. But there are so many outside factors that go into – what they're graded upon, because I can't go in and take that test. It's my students, how they do that day. And I'm not.
So you believe, and I'm limited on time. I want to get to as many people as possible, but I wanted to give you an opportunity. The conversation intrigues me. So you believe it's the TCAP more than anything?
I believe that too much is put on that as far as whether a place is failing or not.
When did educate a guy that has only been in the state for 3 years or thereabouts? When did we start using the TCAP in Tennessee?
The TCAP's been around for a long time. I know at least 30 years, but it wasn't used as a grading measure. It was just something to let kids know where they stand on a national measure. And it was fun. It was 3 days. And, it was kind of something that kids and parents and everybody looked forward to, because the results would come back pretty quick. It has since been turned into a 3-week ordeal on top of, and I can tell you from our school, 3 other major tests that are given periodically throughout the year, grading to where everybody's just burned out by April, May anyhow. And you factor in all of that.
Wait a minute. So there's more testing? I thought there was just the one. You got other testing now?
Well, TCAP is the only one that actually rates the school's performance, but they give multiple other tests to kind of see where the kids are at throughout the year in order to drill down to the standards that they need to work on the most. They're supposed to kind of help guide the instruction, but they essentially just burn all the students out.
I want to bottom line this. Do you think public education is failing the kids? Do you think it's adequate for the kids right now? Do you think it needs improvement?
I believe if we got the ratios of student to teacher back down to a manageable level, I think it would be far more successful. And I think Tennessee does a great job when you have to educate everyone, whether they speak this language or not, whether they're on grade level or not. I have students in my room, I can tell you this, ranging from a kindergarten reading level to an 8th grade reading level. It's almost like a one.
Isn't that a problem with the system, though, John?
100%. But you cannot hold.
Well, we need to start doing that. Don't we do that through testing?
No, kids cannot be held back more than once.
Shouldn't we do that through testing?
What do you mean?
You're complaining because you have kids that are reading at a much degraded level than they're supposed to be. I'm telling you that perhaps if those kids were held back, well, how do you determine whether or not a kid should be held back? Don't you determine that? Don't you tell? No. I'm not asking you what the state allows. I'm asking you to use the brain God gave you to tell me what solutions you would come up with if you had the ability. How about testing the kids at the end of the year and then holding them back if they're not prepared to move on?
Oh, I'm 100% behind it. I think kids should be where they're supposed to be. That goes back into the financial problems of it. They will not do it for that reason. They just keep moving them along, and they learn that. And so,
that's a failure of the system.
That is.
Okay.
That is.
All right, I got to run, John. Thank you for the call. I've given you a lot of time. I appreciate your comments. Mark is next in Nash. We're just going to move through some of these. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Matt. Appreciate it. Would appreciate if you could follow up on your thoughts on dissolving the Department of Education. I'm not entirely tracking. I mean, we've got a Department of Defense, we've got a Department of Transportation at a federal level. There's a lot of departments that we accept are necessary. And the Department of Education is one that's come under sort of, a lot more focus right now, is something that I think you were suggesting, and I've heard other people saying we just don't really need anymore. I am curious about your thoughts when we compare that to other countries, whether that's Germany or France or the United Kingdom. They would have an equivalent to the Department of Defense or the Department of Transportation at a federal level, and I believe they would all have something that's equivalent to the Department of Education. I'm curious why it seems like you or some people are saying we don't need one here, even though most developed countries do have one. And I'll drop off and let you explain that. Thank you.
First and foremost, the the Constitution of the United States of America specifically prescribes what the federal government is to do and what it's not to do, and what is left to the responsibility of the individual states. The states created the federal government, not the other way around. So, I mean, if you want to take it from a strictly constitutional standpoint, the Constitution does not specify that it is the duty of the federal government in any way to manage the education of our kids. Now, understand, you're talking to somebody that doesn't necessarily believe that it is the government's job to educate your children. I'm far more libertarian in this discussion than most. At the same time, the Department of Education only offers standards and money. And I believe that school standards can be created through congressional legislation. All of this No Child Left Behind stuff that started by Bush, and a lot of that stuff is embedded within the Department of Education. So I don't believe that you need any sort of unifying bureaucracy in Washington, D.C. to affect better educational outcomes in the state of Tennessee. Now, as far as the Department of Transportation goes, I mean, you have interstate highways that necessitate the Department of Transportation. You have interstate commerce that necessitates the Department of Transportation. The Department of Defense goes without saying. It's obviously the federal government's job to defend from enemies, foreign and domestic. But I do not believe that a federal Department of Education has either A, improved the educational outcomes of the individual states, nor do I believe that you need a federal Department of I mean, what does it do? What does the federal Department of Education do? And if the caller was still on the line, I would ask him directly. I mean, all they do is borrow money against the faith and credit of the United States of America, adding to our federal debt, and hand that money to the public coffers of the states. And with that money comes strings that does not ultimately improve educational outcomes. It has proven we have not improved educational outcomes since the creation of the Department of Education in the 1970s. That is a fact. And I don't know what else the Department of Education does. So I would need to know what exactly they do to defend their creation or their existence. 51 after the hour at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You know, it's cold, and that means the bugs are coming inside. And unless you stop them, do you have a protective barrier around your home in the form of U.S. Pest? J.K. and Erica Brister want you to know that you never should suspend pest control or pest services, monthly pest services during the winter months. Now, I understand that you don't have a lot of ticks and fleas in the yard this time of year. That goes without saying. But you know what you do have? You have rodents, you have mice, you have rats, you have roaches, you have bugs and creepy crawlies and spiders and the like that want the warmth that you enjoy and want your food in your house. It's time to run them out with U.S. Pest. U.S. Pest protection begins with a telephone call, and it will protect you from all manner of pests like spiders and ladybugs and ants and roaches and, of course, those dreaded rodents, and termite and crawl space services provided as well. 100% money-back guarantee on all of this. Give them a call today at 590-1260. That is 615-590-1260. Or go to uspest.com. That's uspest.com. Talk to J.K., Erica, or the rest of the team. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to U.S. Pest. What is up, guys? Matt Murphy talking about my buddies over at the Glock store. The Glock store is the place to go and buy a Glock, buy any gun, really, and to train. And obviously, I need to get to the Glock store in 2025 more than I did in 2024 because, you know, understanding how to shoot, when to shoot, these types of things, it's a perishable skill, and you need to keep up with that perishable skill. So the Glock store and shoot270.com, in that interest, they want to get you back to the range. They have private shooting rooms, you know this, personal instructors, you probably know that as well. They don't have these lanes like the regular shooting lanes, and they are what they are, but this is just a superior way to train. And for 2025, I got a great new deal for you to encourage you to get back and to schedule a shooting session at shoot270.com. charityshooting.com. You'll get to shoot a full auto H&K, I should say, suppressed MP5, which is about a $50 value. All you have to do is mention my name, and you get to shoot. The right way to train is with a personal instructor in a private shooting room, and after every session, you walk out a better, more confident shooter. And in January, you get to experience the thrill of shooting a full auto MP5. Just mention my name when you go to shoot270.com or make the call that so many have made to the Glock store. Minutes away from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere. It's the incomparable Glock store.
Tracking the potential for measurable snow, and a judge has denied President-elect Trump's request to block sentencing in the hush money case. That's coming up at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Matt, your hatred of conservative teachers is obvious, so how would you handle teaching high school and everyday kids with barely 3 years formal elementary education from third world countries are placed in your class? They don't speak English. And if your school receives a warning letter from the State Department because you are not doing enough to teach them, though they are 8 years behind and can't speak the language, can't say, I enjoy your show, and your anti-teacher bias. I try not to have anti-teacher bias. I know there are many great teachers, and anytime you talk about the system, people think you're talking about the teachers. I'm not trying to talk about the teachers. I do believe that the system protects failing teachers, and I think that most successful teachers recognize that. That their job is harder because teachers that came before them were failures. And there are many reasons for that that are beyond the teacher's control. I understand that, too. I'm not trying to come off as anti-teacher. And if I am, I apologize. I just want to try to fix the system so that we can best educate the kids that are in the state of Tennessee. That's all I want. Chris is next. I think Chris is a teacher out of Columbia. Chris, the floor is yours. What's on your mind?
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Of course.
Yeah, so I think the biggest problem that I've found, and most of the people that I've worked with would tend to agree, is the parents. And I know I'm not trying to – there are a lot of aspects. I know earlier there was another caller that y'all got into a lot of stuff. But I think one of the biggest is the parents are coddling the kids, and they don't want the kids to suffer any kind of setback or any kind of C or D or F grade on their report card. And the whole culture and the whole idea of the parents protecting the kids from like tough times and from learning from their mistakes is really holding not just the schools and education, but our country back. I think that's the number one issue. The kids, they're going to goof off in class. I mean, when I taught in Arkansas, and when I taught a 45-minute class, I would have about 25 minutes of good teaching time, and the rest of the time was spent trying to deal with bad behavior kids and trying to get the class under control. Right now, I currently work with a Christian private school in Tennessee, and it's night and day difference. Nothing's really changed except I have parental support, and when a kid's acting up and I tell the parents, then the parents take care of it at home.
Yeah.
And it's a whole different world. And I know that also the systematic problem is
real quick. Got to go quick. Real quick.
When you have kids that are trying to learn how to read in 6th grade, 7th grade, because they're on the 2nd, 3rd grade level, but they're just being passed every year, that creates an incredible difficulty for the teacher, and it makes the teacher look bad, and the teacher gets blamed when it's not their job to teach the kid how to read. They're supposed to be teaching the finer aspects of reading comprehension and such. And when a teacher is asked to teach a kid at 2nd grade level and at 7th grade level, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, no, I get it. Chris, I'm sorry to have to cut you off, but I am out of time for this hour and for this subject. We'll be back to it eventually. Here comes Ken Weaver in the newsroom.
Five o'clock on the dot this Monday evening. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Lisa Spencer tells us about a chance for measurable snow later this week.
Tonight's going to be a really cold one, so anything that's left out there moisturized is going to freeze. But it's Friday where we could see another much more significant snowstorm, and the timing, it's set to arrive in the morning for that morning commute.
Yeah, full forecast. Traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Governor Andy Beshear telling Kentuckians, stay home another day.
And we're really racing against time because it is going to get really cold on Tuesday and Wednesday, especially, and Thursday. So we've got today and part of tomorrow to get power up to as many Kentuckians as we can, because with wind chill, it's going to get dangerously cold.
Now, here in Nashville, officials are going to open the extreme weather shelter tonight at 7 for anyone and their pets who need to get out of the weather. In New York City, President-elect Trump has lost his bid to delay sentencing in the hush money conviction while he appeals. The order came as Trump filed a lawsuit against Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg and Judge Juan Merchan over the judge's denial of his presidential immunity motions.
What you're seeing here from Donald Trump's legal team is just another tactic, of course, to delay his sentencing scheduled for Friday even further. They're picking apart everything, frankly, that Judge Merchan has done and challenging him and now suing him on the grounds, obviously, of saying that Merchan exceeded his jurisdiction when he denied Trump's claim of presidential immunity last week.
That is Catherine Falder's. Sentencing is set for Friday. Right now in New York City, former Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani has been found in contempt of court by a judge who says he didn't properly respond to requests for information as he turned over assets to satisfy a $148 million defamation judgment granted to 2 Georgia election workers. Donald Trump certified the winner of the 2024 election. Vice President Kamala Harris had to announce it as part of her duties today.
The votes for President of the United States are as follows. Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes. Kamala D. Harris.
As she gavelled everyone down and continued, then leading Democratic House and Senate members called the media over to make sure America doesn't forget about the riot 4 years ago. This is Hakeem Jeffries.
The violent mob attacked the Capitol as part of a concerted effort to halt the peaceful transfer of power in the United States of America for the first time in our history.
Trump takes the oath of office in 2 weeks, and that's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Antioch. Police on the scene of a crash, Murfreesboro Pike, just west of Hamilton Church Road. The West End got a crash, 21st Avenue South at Blair Boulevard. Harding Place, just west of 24. And then road work still impacting the right shoulder 24 eastbound before Harding Place. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, gang. Halfway home, the Matt Murphy Radio Show on this Monday edition. Many of you just off work, perhaps in your cars, heading home. I hope the drive home's going well for you so far. It's cold outside, but you probably already know that if you are outside. If you're inside, warm, snug as a bug in a rug, well, it's cold and getting colder, and it's not going to get very warm over the course of the week. I imagine you know that as well. We'll get you home as warm and as safe as possible on Super Talk 99.7 WTN and the Matt Murphy Show, and we thank you for being here on episode 722 of our gatherings. And really, this is our first full week. Chris Weber's behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as possible. Ken Weaver's back there in the newsroom gathering headlines as we speak. It's a team effort, and it really does feel like the first show of the year.
Kind of does, yeah.
Last week was just a weird,
the whole 2
thing.
weeks of Christmas and New Year's are just, especially when it's in the middle of the week like it was this year.
Yeah, because you do 2 days and then you're off for a weekend, then you do 2 days and you're off for a day, and then you do 2 days. And in the interim, the Bulldogs sucked. I mean, it was just a bad couple of weeks.
And what day is it? I have no idea.
I think it's Monday today.
Today is Monday.
And it's dark, but thankfully we're now on the upswing. It's getting lighter.
Yeah.
That's what they tell me.
That's what they say, but,
that's what I
fooled me.
Hey, but when Donald Trump gets to be president of the United States of America in 2 weeks and for a second term, he claims he's going to solve that for us.
He's going to set the clock to 5 p.m. permanently.
Yeah. And then it's whatever time you want. You can have whatever time you'd like. Although I don't like the way they've if you've not heard, Trump seemed very receptive to the idea of permanent time and not switching twice a year, but he seemed to indicate that he would be eliminating daylight saving time, which I don't think most people want.
Yeah, we want to stay on daylight saving time.
My solution, and I've not heard an issue with this, but my solution's always been for the debate is whether to go to daylight saving time, which I would like. I think you would like too, right, Weber? Is that where you are?
Yeah, I would be in favor of that.
That's at least 2 out of 3, and maybe 3 out of 3 if we got Ken Weaver's vote of approval. But and there are a few less, but some that say, no, I want standard time. Well, just bridge the gap. I mean, if we set the time, we assign the time, the days don't change. So if you can't decide what to do, the next time we are to spring forward, you just spring forward 30 minutes, then call that the top of the hour and be done with it. No, you don't like that either.
The rest of the world is the issue. Because, like, if you do whole hours, that's one thing. We can then adjust. But you get a half hour, and then, all right, what time is it in London? Or, you know what I'm saying? Then it's
on the half because they haven't moved.
Right, because I'm assuming they're going to do what they want to do.
My goodness, we are the United States. Can't we make them move?
Maybe we got the right man in there. Maybe he
crack
can do
the
that.
whip a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, we can already get the 51st state to do it. I mean, hell, he made a couple of jokes online about Canada being the 51st state, and off Justin Trudeau goes and quietly into that good night. I hear what you're saying. Well, then, fine. Just go to daylight saving and be done with it.
Yep.
And we're done, right? And some of you will have to watch the kids go off to school in the dark in the wintertime. I'm sorry. Sacrifices have to be made. And for the betterment of humanity, we have to get on one time and keep it there. One way or the other, we appreciate you being here, whatever time you're giving us. We're thankful of it. Let's delve into some news coming out of Washington, D.C. We've already dissected and broken down the public school systems here in the state of Tennessee with our conversation about the scholarship fund and school choice. We're not going back to that today. We will get back to it at some point. I'm sensitive to the fact that sometimes these subjects can take over a show and it becomes a little bit laborious for those who are listening long term. So we'll get back to that conversation coming up at another point on another day's show. We're not leaving it, and I promise you, I want to be a point central where any and all comers can get caught up to what's going on in the legislative session with regard to school choice and what's happening with their educational opportunities in the state of Tennessee. And I understand that some of you were on the line, and I apologize for that. I'm just, we want to move on to a few other things, to include the aforementioned Mr. Justin Trudeau. So it appears that he has decided to just to be done with it. 9 years is a lot of time for anybody that is serving as the prime minister of anything. Justin Trudeau made the decision earlier today, announced his decision. I don't know if he made it earlier today, but he certainly announced his decision that he would be stepping down as the prime minister of Canada, putting up an opportunity for someone else to serve in that capacity. The Canadian prime minister made the announcement that he would be stepping down. He's not doing it immediately, or he made the announcement that he would be stepping down as the leader of the nation's ruling Liberal Party, stepping ahead of a general election in which his prospects looked grim due to a growing voter dissatisfaction with his 9-year tenure and his high-profile feud with President-elect Donald Trump over trade policy. It appears that Donald Trump has broken another one. Trudeau will remain in his post as prime minister until a successor is chosen and will suspend the country's parliament until March 24th. The move leaves the Liberal Party without a permanent leader before Canada's general election. Well, now's the opportunity to make them a 51st state. I mean, are they worthy? I don't think they're worthy. I mean, they bring some things to the table. Molasses and beer.
Don't let them in on NIL. And don't let them in the SEC either. That's too far to travel.
Well, and don't let them in. Don't let them in the. I mean, the foosball. Their foosball rules are weird.
Yeah, a little strange. Yeah.
Hell, they'll beat Oklahoma.
Well, but see, y'all that think I'm mean, I just held my tongue because I love Ken Weaver so much. My inclination was to say, in response to what Ken just said, yeah, but who couldn't? But I didn't say that. I didn't say that, Ken.
That's all right, buddy.
Because we're on the same team, my friend. We're on the same team. We don't root for the same team, but we're on the same team. Look, Oklahoma is having a fine offseason. Just like, look, every team except for 4 are in the offseason now, Ken. So you're in the same boat as everybody else. How about that? That's good. Huh?
Well,
yeah.
That's a little bit better.
Yeah, well, all right. Well, one way or the other, we're not letting Canada in as the 51st state either. That was obviously jokes by Donald Trump, but the trade issues were very serious. Donald Trump wanted some trade concessions from Justin Trudeau. Justin Trudeau went down to Mar-a-Lago, a couple of months ago, and kind of kissed the ring a little bit. Canada's deficit last fiscal year was $61.9 billion, nearly $22 billion higher than the $40 billion projected deficit. So they're spending money faster than they can print it over there. His resignation mounted after his finance minister announced her resignation last month in a letter pushing back against the prime minister proposal for more spending. In November, Donald Trump threatened to impose a 25% tariff on all Canadian goods imported into the United States until the country helped stem the flow of illegal immigration along the northern border. A few days later, Justin Trudeau dined with Trump at Mar-a-Lago to discuss business. During that conversation, Trump joked that Trudeau would become the governor of the 51st state in the event that Canada wanted to join the United States of America. Obviously, it was a joke, but a lot of people didn't think it was funny or took it too seriously. I mean, since when have Canadians no sense of humor? I mean, a lot of comedians come from Canada, right?
Do they?
Jim Carrey?
That's true.
Well, yeah, that's right.
I've never cared for Carrey.
Norm Macdonald was a Canadian.
Wasn't
he was
Norm
funny.
Macdonald? Now, Norm, was he really?
Yes, he was.
Well, I'll be.
Tom Green, Canadian.
Norm Macdonald was my favorite, all-time favorite comedian. Yeah. Norm Macdonald.
Fantastic.
So good. Have you ever heard the Norm Macdonald moth joke? I cannot tell it because it's like 10 minutes long.
Yeah, that's a Norm Macdonald joke.
That's a Norm Macdonald joke.
Yeah, meanders around a little bit.
Oh, yeah, but he tells that delivery, the moth's at the psychiatrist, and he's going on and on about the moth, and the moth is telling him all of his problems, and the moth's going over all of his issues, and he doesn't feel right with the world, and he said, but that's not why I'm here, Doc, and finally the doctor says, well, no, finally the doctor asked him why he's there, and he said, well, I'm not here for that. I'm here because the light was on. And it's just one of those that the payoff. It's everything about Norm. But yeah, Tom Green, not a fan.
Oh, come on now.
Oh, I'm not a fan.
He's going to be in Nashville in a couple weeks. I'm going.
Are you now?
Doing a show, yeah.
Get him on the show and I'll be a fan. I will pretend to be a fan if you can get him on.
I'll do my best.
Okay, well, just whatever you can do. As long as he no mooses. It wasn't Green the one that got inside of a dead moose?
Oh,
at some point.
Yeah, that sounds like something he would have done.
He dabbled in the gross comedy, right?
A little bit, yeah.
For a while?
Yeah. Yeah, he's matured. He's much more relaxed nowadays.
He's much better now. Got inside a dead moose.
He only dabbles with live moose now.
I need to look this up. Tom Green and the moose. Tom Green and the moose. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got it all mixed up with somebody else. But I thought he hit a moose, or he was humping a dead moose. That's what it was.
Goodness.
Yeah, that checks out. That's something he would do.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, my apologies for accusing him of getting inside of a dead moose when he...
Well, I mean...
Be funnier if the moose was alive. Try that.
You know what? I think we should move on from this entire conversation at this point. Jim Carrey, never a fan of his either.
Really?
Wow. I understand that he's great at what he does. I mean, but I'm not that level of quote unquote physical. I'll tell you too that I get a lot of pushback is Jim Carrey and Robin Williams. I was never a fan of Jim Carrey and never a fan of Robin Williams.
Interesting.
Just because both of them have this frenetic kind of pace about them. And I assume Robin Williams, for a long period of his career, that was fueled by some exterior forces. But
possibly.
But, Carrey, I appreciate the physical nature of his comedy. I just was never a fan of it. I don't know. Just me. But Norm Macdonald, that's a jewel coming from America's hat. That is Canada. 18 minutes after the hour. So Joe Biden is throwing a couple of proverbial turds in the punch bowl before he leaves office in 2 weeks. We're going to tell you what some of those are in just a moment, plus update you on the Las Vegas Cybertruck issue, which just provides more questions than answers as we sit here at 5:19 on Monday afternoon, Monday evening. In the meantime, the political left is desperate to salvage whatever portion of the narrative they can from January 6, 2021, and we're not going to allow it. We're not going to allow them to do so. I'm not here to relitigate 2021, certainly not here to relitigate January 6th, because I think that's feeding into the beast. But all of the sour faces happening on social media, all of the sour faces happening on mainstream liberal news networks, well, it's for one reason. It's not because they lament what happened 4 years ago, and most of us lament it and have. Most of us reasonable people recognize that things got completely out of control on January 6, 2021. And most of us recognize that if you illegally enter, and I understand there's a thought process, that's our house. Well, we've long ago established that there have to be security protocols in order for you to go into certain places that are, quote unquote, our places, like the White House or the Capitol or the state capitol or the governor's mansion or whatever. For whatever reason, there are some people that suggest, there should be no limitation. And that's kind of ridiculous. It is equally ridiculous to suggest that January 6th was the most egregious direct assault on American democracy in our history. There have obviously been worse. I mean, the Civil War was kind of all about splitting up the country and one group of people wanting to do their own thing versus another group of people that didn't want them to do their own thing. But even if you discount that as a different dynamic, in the 1950s, Puerto Rican nationals tried to kill U.S. congressmen and shot at them from the gallery of the House of Representatives. And it is amazing to me that there's not more when some of these leftist commentators on The View or on CNN, Acosta and all of those, the hashtag never CNN commentator, they claim, oh, there's never been a worse assault on American democracy in the history of the United States Capitol. Well, shut up. You know you're lying to the American people. For those interested in looking it up, look up the Puerto Rican national attack in the gallery of the United States Congress in the 1950s. Oh, by the way, when that happened, that is what led to further security protocols that eventually led to the American people not simply being able to walk into the gallery and watch the proceedings at their leisure. Now you have to be ticketed. What I actually saw, I was lucky enough to be with a sitting U.S. congressman, and he took us on the floor of the House of Representatives. And the desks, you know, the House is a little bit different than the Senate chamber. The Senate chamber, they all get desks because there are fewer of them. And they get the little inkwells and, you know, on their individual desk, apparently the senators that are assigned those specific desks, they sign them on the underneath of the desk, you know, to signify that's where they sat. Well, in the House, they just get seats. But they have a little desk area on either side of the aisle, Democrat and Republican, where they can go stand, and that's where the majority leader generally sits, or the minority leader. And I was being given a tour by then Congressman Mo Brooks, and he shows me, he said these desks were actually here when the assault, this is before 2021, by the way. He said these were actually here when the assault in the 1950s happened by the Puerto Rican nationals, and he lifts the desk, and there are bullet holes in the desk. And he said, you know, there were several people shot. Thank God I don't think anybody was killed. I think I'm right in that. I could be wrong. But one way or the other, the evidence of those attacks still exists in the halls of Congress. And so don't be gaslit by certain members of the mainstream media that suggest that it was the, quote, darkest day, despite the fact I look up and that's what they're talking about on hashtag never CNN. They're talking to Bernie Williams or Bernie Thompson, pardon me, because he's got great insight, despite that dog and pony show that he and others led regarding January 6th. January 6th was a bad day, but don't be confused that it was the darkest day. I'll tell you, a day of light and happiness will be 2 weeks from today when Donald Trump is the president of the United States again. I'll tell you what Joe Biden's going and doing on his way out coming up in just a moment, plus your calls 23 after the hour on Super Talk. And real estate prices are just out of this world. And I'll tell you, if you already own land or you're thinking about buying land, I have an idea for you, and I am pleased to talk about Stoltz Co. If you own land or if you are looking to do something to increase the value of current property that you have, put money into real assets by building on your land. Let Stoltz Co. build high-quality custom structures at reasonable prices. I had an opportunity to sit down with the ownership group of Stoltz Co. and talk to them. They are the leading company when it comes to first-class customer service in the creation of post-frame buildings, such as barn-dominiums. You've all heard the words barn-dominium. I got a tutorial over what a barn-dominium truly is, or pole barns, or garages, or equestrian spaces, or event spaces. They do it all at Stoltz Co. If you want somewhere else to hang out on the weekends, or gentlemen, if you're looking for that quote-unquote man cave and you got no space in the house, how about a man barn or a pole barn that becomes your man space through Stoltz Co.? Let's get it done with Stoltz Co. Contact Stoltz Co. today at 615-622-5992. That's 622-5992. Tell them you heard about them on the Matt Murphy Show, or visit online at stoltz.com. That's stoltz.com. Murphy sent you to Stoltz Co.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Tracking the potential for measurable snow, new developments in the New York City hush money case conviction of Trump. These stories and more at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm also very excited. New year, new Monday, and we're going to crank up a new segment on the Matt Murphy Show coming up in mere moments. Just after the bottom of the hour newscast, I've imposed upon Ken Weaver and Chris Weber that we will be launching a new segment that we call Nincompoops in the News. The goal of this segment is for the three of us to identify the biggest nincompoop in the news in any given 24-hour period, and then you guys on the super text line or otherwise are allowed to comment and perhaps vote on your favorite nincompoop in the news.
Might have to open a bureau in D.C.
Maybe so. I mean, we might have a new department of nincompoopery. The D-O-N-C. So the idea is it can be anybody in the news, anybody that we find, and known or unknown to the general population, and then we present our nincompoop nominee.
What's the winner get?
You get another day in paradise here at Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Wow, what's the loser
And
get, man?
the knowledge, that you have nominated the nincompoop of the day.
All right.
Which is pretty nice.
We should keep a tally of who wins each day.
Who's the official? Where's the official vote coming from? I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
Super text line.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest way to do it.
There. See, look at these two competitive Georgia fans here, Weaver.
Yeah.
By the way, you had some support here because Ken 4664 on the old super text line said, who couldn't beat Oklahoma? Alabama. And who couldn't beat Alabama? You see what he's doing there? You see what this dude's doing there?
He's turning it around.
Yeah, I guessed Vandy, but I think my guess is wrong. I think, if I remember.
Yeah, Vandy did beat Alabama.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Oh, man, I think that's Georgia. Well, I mean, are we rooting for Texas now, by the way?
I can't
bring myself to it.
Well, I can't deal with Steve Sarkisian. I don't like his look. Him and Ryan Day are two real creepy-looking fellas.
Ryan Day looks like he dies it.
There's no doubt.
There's no question.
He just for men's, like Daly.
It's no good. It's no good.
No one's hair is that black. Beard hair, especially.
No, I can't do Ryan Day. He's out. Ohio State's out. So that leaves us, and I think Texas is out. I cannot stomach the idea of listening to them, just like they were going to do with the SEC championship, listening to them. I mean, Ken, you've lived it all your life. Ugly. So that leaves Notre Dame or Penn State. Well, Notre Dame just beat us.
Let's go Nittany Lions.
So, I mean, I think I'm left with the Penn State Nittany Lions.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to learn the Penn State fight song.
I'm just going to turn it off and wait till next year.
I'm gonna pretend like it doesn't matter. Well, here's something that matters. Ken Weaver's newscast coming up right now on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Channel 4's Lisa Spencer says Friday morning could be troublesome for commuters.
Roads should deteriorate very, very quickly. And in terms of accumulation, no kidding, we could see several inches. This is the right setup for a storm here in Middle Tennessee. It's a storm that's going to dive to the south. And this is always the correct recipe for us to get a south-moving storm and then that cold air coming in from the north. So it looks as though this go-around we are going to get some more accumulating snow.
Yeah, I got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Meanwhile, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear asking everyone in the Bluegrass State just stay home another day.
And we're really racing against time because it is going to get really cold on Tuesday and Wednesday, especially, and Thursday. So we've got today and part of tomorrow to get power up to as many Kentuckians as we can, because with wind chill, it's going to get dangerously cold.
Crews in Christian County say they've repaired some downed power lines. The judge in President-elect Donald Trump's criminal hush money case in New York denying a request by Trump to halt the sentencing in the case, currently scheduled for Friday. That order came as Trump filed a lawsuit against Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg and Judge Juan Merchan over the judge's denial of his presidential immunity motions. Congress carried out its duty to formalize the 2024 election results, the final step before President-elect Trump sworn into office in 2 weeks. Here's ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers.
Vice President Harris called the day very important and said one of the most important pillars of American democracy is the peaceful transfer of power. She spoke about her role today, sitting in the chamber as the votes were tallied.
I did what I have done my entire career, which is take seriously the oath that I have taken many times to support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Harris said today America's democracy stood.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. West End still got a crash. 21st Avenue South at Blair Boulevard. Then Brick Church Pike at Fern Avenue. Police working a crash. I-40 eastbound on-ramp from Donaldson Pike eastbound is partially blocked by a crash over by the airport. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dr. Stephen Poss has Dr. Brian McLaughlin join him in practice to help you sleep better and to help protect those of you who have sleep apnea, which can cause significant medical issues in your life. Let's talk about it. Now, I want to remind you, first off, that the products that they provide with Dr. Poss, Dr. Brian McLaughlin, and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions Center, they are covered by your insurance, meaning that your insurance, whether it's BCBS, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, Medicare, TRICARE, preferred provider with TRICARE for the military. You are in coverage with Dr. Paz, either in Brentwood or in Murfreesboro, his two fine locations, and Dr. McLaughlin. Now, their exceptional credentials direct them to help you with your sleep apnea issues. If you snore and you don't know if you have sleep apnea, they encourage you to get a sleep test. And if you've had one and you do have sleep apnea, did you know there's an FDA-approved device that gently supports your jaw to help you be able to sleep better by breathing better throughout the course of the night? This can be game-changing when it comes to snoring. It can be life-changing when it comes to medical issues that could result from your sleep apnea. It's time to get tested in 2025. Let's go. Sleep apnea. It can be a thing of the past thanks to Dr. Paz and Dr. McLaughlin. Give them a call, or better yet, join them online at drposs.com. That's drposs.com for the Sleep Apnea TMJ Solution Center.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about Spice and Easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Supertalk 99.7 WTN. Breaking news, McDonald's is announcing plans to roll back DEI practices and revise its, quote, diversity goals. That is solid news. Not such breaking news. The media can't stomach Donald Trump presidency, so much so that they refuse to talk about the certification clean. They instead desire to talk about January 6, 2021 until the cows come home. I've got some audio of Scott Jennings. By the way, Scott Jennings, this is not breaking news either. Scott Jennings, who's on CNN with regularity, and I know you guys don't watch CNN, and I beg of you not to. Don't watch. I'll watch so you don't have to. An American treasure. Scott Jennings is an absolute, he is so good at destroying these liberal media narratives. I would say if you are going to watch CNN, you better watch Scott Jennings pretty quick, because I don't think he's going to be on there much longer. Because CNN can't stomach having one conservative destroy all of the liberals every time he's on TV. But that's what he does. So more on that coming up in just a moment. But right now, we are proud to debut a new segment of the Matt Murphy Radio Show. In an effort to get, I want more of you. I want the most of you to listen as possible. I want as many of you to be a part of the show as possible. And the only way to do that is to have less Murphy, more Weaver, more Weber. And so in that spirit, ladies and gentlemen, we present to you brand new segment with its own theme song. It's called Nincompoops in the News. That's right. Our opportunity to scour the state of Tennessee, the nation, nay, the globe, and to find that nincompoopery, to root it out and to call it out.
Nincompoopery.
That's right.
I freaking loved this show growing up.
It was good.
Oh, what's happening?
Rerun.
Poor Rerun. Why did the truck stop for Rerun? If you know, you know.
Funnier that way.
It is funnier that way. Fat guy running down the street trying to get on a truck. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny for you skinny fellas. Weber. All right, here's how it goes. So we all come with a story, and you guys get to decide who's the biggest nincompoop of the day. It's Nincompoops in the News. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right. Weaver, who you got?
All right, this story is out of East Tennessee. It is by TV station WATE. Cock County man charged with impersonating law enforcement after road rage incident. A volunteer firefighter charged with criminal impersonation. On December 22nd, the Cock County Sheriff's Office learned about a claim that a member of the Parrottsville Volunteer Fire Department was following a woman's vehicle, flashing emergency red and white lights and showing a badge. An incident report quotes the woman as saying the vehicle was riding her, you know what. It almost struck her vehicle. She said she took a back road to get away, but the man kept following her, so she drove to a police station for help. Eventually, the man stopped following her, strangely enough, when she arrived at the police station.
Riding her nincompoopery.
Then here's where it gets good. 4 days later, on December 26, Cock County Sheriff's Office encountered someone who they believed to be the same man, running his lights and sirens. Cock County Dispatch told the Cock County Sheriff's Office that a man was running emergency traffic in Cosby because he believed he was having a medical emergency. The dispatchers told him to stop the vehicle so he did not accidentally cause a wreck. No pun intended. The man stopped at Wilton Springs hardware store.
Keeps going, man.
Where law enforcement made contact. He was identified as Henry William Reiger, a volunteer firefighter. The report said the officer found 2 forward-facing emergency light bars and a siren speaker on the vehicle. Law enforcement contacted the Centerview Volunteer Fire Department, where they learned that Reiger did not have permission to do that. They also contacted Parrottsville's Volunteer Fire Department, who learned that Reiger wasn't a member. The incident report said that all evidence supports that Reiger was responsible for that quote-unquote road rage incident with the woman who scared him whenever she arrived at a police station while he was running his lights and flashing his badge. Reiger has been charged with criminal impersonation, a violation of light law, reckless driving, and failure to equip emergency vehicles with a horn, bell, siren, and exhaust. Sound like a car out of Arkansas. Cock County Sheriff C.J. Ball said the community has great volunteers and not to let this represent against them over one's action. Law enforcement in Cock County, along with state and city law enforcement, only have blue lights on emergency vehicles, said Sheriff Ball. If you cannot be sure that the person stopping you is a law enforcement officer, dial 911 or call non-emergency numbers or do as this lady did and drive to a police station.
Okay.
I don't mean to hijack this real quick, but are you telling me that the sheriff of Cock County is named Ball?
Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify. Thank you very much.
I was thinking along the same lines. I just wanted to observe that this story would not be nearly as funny if it had happened in any of the other 94 counties in the state of Tennessee.
That's true. And the way you say it, Ken, is just
perfect.
Yep.
So Sheriff Ball of Cock County.
Yeah, and I liked how the lady told him he was riding my...
in Cock County.
We're just... She said that to Sheriff Ball, did she?
Sheriff Ball of Cock County.
Wow.
We got a lot to unpack there.
We got a lot of the parts covered going on there.
This little boy just wasn't satisfied being a volunteer firefighter.
There are, I agree with, I'd like to take credit for this, but I agree with the listener 9430. The percentage, no offense to you volunteer firefighters, but the percentage of weirdo volunteer firefighters that get in the news
Yeah, I
It
hesitate
feels-
to agree with that, but
once again, I love you and I thank you for what you do if you're a volunteer firefighter, but there seem to be a lot of volunteer firefighters that want to be something else.
Yes, sir.
Your story reminds me real quick, Ken, of there was a story in Birmingham, Alabama about a youth pastor that decided he wanted to be a cop. And he put light bars on his vehicle, and he got himself like a badge that somebody gave him, like a ceremonial thing, and he was flashing his badge.
Yeah.
And he was running. The police wanted to actively talk to him about impersonating a police officer. And he shows up at a TV station, and this is on video. You can find this somewhere, where there's a reporter that had the reporter, thank you to this reporter, because the reporter knew that he was wanted. He had a warrant out for his arrest, but he came to talk to the news. And so the reporter called the cops before she went outside to talk to him. It was like, hey, he's here. And so she's
keep him busy.
She's
You guys
talking
hurry up.
to him, and she's like, do you actually have a badge? And he like flashes his badge and says, well, looky there. Looky there. It was like 10 seconds later, the cops pulled up. He runs, like jumps off the hill and hurts himself. Yeah. So that's bad news. Mr. Weber.
All right, so I'm going to take you to Scottsdale, Arizona. A gentleman there by the name of Mike Johns had a flight to catch. He was trying to get over to Phoenix to Sky Harbor International, calls a car to pick him up to take him to the airport. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but in that area of the country, there's a thing called Waymo. And it's this driverless, basically like a driverless Uber or a driverless taxi.
Okay.
But the company's called Waymo. So he gets in the Waymo, and things kind of derail after this. And he actually recorded a video of himself while he was trying to remedy his problem. And I'll just let you hear a little bit of what he had to deal with here.
Okay, why is this happening to me on a Monday? I'm in a Waymo
Connected
car.
to rider support. This call
And-
may be recorded for quality assurance.
This car is just going in circles.
Hi there, Mike. This is Gab. I'm calling from Waymo Support. I'm just calling because I received a notification that your car might be experiencing some routing issue. Please
Yeah.
bear with me while I am.
Yeah, I got a flight to catch. Why is this thing going in a circle? I'm getting dizzy. Look at what it's doing.
It's literally going
Hi,
in a
I'm
circle
really sorry,
in a
Mike.
parking
So
lot.
it's working with the situation of the vehicle. Is it circling around a parking lot, right?
It's circling around a parking lot. I got my seatbelt on. I can't get out the car. Has this been hacked? What's going on? I feel like I'm in the movies.
So this goes on for a couple more minutes. The woman on the phone with Waymo says she doesn't have a way to control this car to stop it.
What?
She's trying to get him to go on the app and I guess cancel the ride or something in hopes that it will stop the vehicle. This car went in circles in a parking lot, like a little roundabout in a parking lot for several minutes while this guy was trying to catch his flight. So, Waymo is my nominee for today's Nincompoop.
I like that nomination. So would either of you two, would you take a driverless vehicle?
No.
If it was only going in a slow speed situation, like I would take it from in a downtown area from one like establishment to another, yes.
Yeah, I think I would give it a go, but I would need to see a lot of testimonials. I would need to see a lot of proof of performance before I gave it a go.
With my luck, there'd be a glitch, and I'd end up on 24
I knew
doing
he was
about
gonna-
120.
I knew he was going to say it. We're sorry, Mr. Weaver. We're rerouting your route. We'll be on I-24 a moment. No!
Mr. Weaver, do you think you could sign on to the app and push off?
I can see you just diving out the door. Yeah.
All right. Finally, my nominee comes from up north, America's Hat, in honor of Justin Trudeau leaving as Prime Minister of Canada. I take us up to Qualicum Beach. That is on Vancouver Island, where a Qualicum Beach motorist doing his civic duty made a police call to Oceanside Royal Canadian Mounted Police. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police received a call at around 5:30 p.m. on New Year's Eve. It was a report of a possible impaired driver in Qualicum Beach. Okay. Well, and so when the police arrived at the scene, a suspect had pulled over on Fern Road near Berwick Road. Another motorist had stopped to intervene. That motorist introduced himself as the individual that had initiated the call, saying that he believed the car in front of him was impaired. They were drinking and driving. When officers arrived at the scene, they noticed the driver who had placed the call had signs of alcohol consumption and smelled of alcohol. Eventually, a roadside alcohol screening test was administered, which the driver that initiated the original call then failed. As a result, the individual was immediately prohibited for driving for 90 days. Their vehicle was impounded, and he was charged with driving under the influence. According to police, the individual that was initially suspected of impaired driving that initiated the call was confirmed to be sober.
Of course.
They indicated that they were struggling with driving in the dark. So there you go. There are your three. That's how we play a little nincompoops in the news. There you go. Those are your three nominees from Mr. Weaver, Mr. Weber, and myself. You can vote accordingly on the super text line. It is 51 after the hour. We'll get back to, in a moment, the nincompoopery that exists in Washington, D.C. That's on the way next. 51 after the hour on Super Talk. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for PAI Medical. They are the We Grow Hair people. Let's talk about that, gentlemen. Did you know that you can begin losing your hair and can lose up to 50% of your hair before you actually begin noticing it through bald patches or bald spots? Well, my hair was thinning a little bit around my crown, and I wanted to do something about it. I've got a lumpy head. I can't have that. So I went to We Grow Hair. The We Grow Hair people have been doing this around 30 years. They have the experience exclusively in hair restoration that I wanted. And so I got their FDA-approved PAI medical laser treatment that makes my hair thicker and fuller, prevents further hair loss, and you can see the results right there on your camera. My hair is long. It is maybe not luscious, but it is long, and it is thick, and it is full. Whether you're just beginning to lose your hair or you've been losing it for a while, We Grow Hair is the only clinic in Nashville with all of the proven results, including the ARTIS robotic FUE hair transplant procedure. Results are guaranteed. Call 615-376-6010, 615-376-6010, or WeGrowHair.com. That's WeGrowHair.com. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to PAI Medical.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Hello, friends. Let's talk for a moment about the one and only Glock store. When I go to train, and I need to go train more often than I did in 2024, Dan over at the Glock store has reminded me of this, and he's absolutely right. I head down to the Glock store. It's the only place that I would train because it just changes your experience. It spoils you, folks. If you've been on lanes, and there's nothing wrong with lanes, and nobody's knocking the lanes, but this is just an upgraded, superior experience when you go to the shoot270.com indoor ranges. They have private shooting rooms and personal instructors, not lanes with some stranger shooting next to you. It's just an upgrade to your typical experience. And I have an exciting New Year, new deal for 2025. All month long, you book a shooting session at shoot270.com. You'll get to shoot a full auto H&K suppressed MP5 just for mentioning my name, Matt Murphy. That's right. A $50 value just for saying that you heard about it on the Matt Murphy Show. Now, you can also do this if you mention Dan's name. You can also do this if you mention Chris's name, but I would not encourage you to do that because I want to win. I want more Matt Murphy names than Chris or Dan, so throw Matt Murphy in there. The right way to train is with a personal instructor in a private room at shoot270.com, and now's a perfect time to do it. So I encourage you to go to shoot270.com right now or glockstore.com to find out more. Minutes away from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. It's the one and only, the incomparable Glock store.
More snow coming. New York hush money case update, and the United States has its first fatal case of bird flu. All this and more at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, so I caught just a piece. By the way, Ken's winning.
Of course
in the tally right now.
Yeah.
See, I think we're going to have a personality problem. At least I am in these votes. You know what I'm saying?
Well, anytime you got a sheriff named Ball in Cocke County, you can't go wrong.
I almost agree with the prevailing public.
Well, yeah. It's hard to argue with that.
It's pretty good.
A lot of humor there.
So, but you didn't have the drunk guy calling the police on the not drunk guy.
Yeah.
Saying, hey, this guy is driving drunk, I think, and the cops get there and they say, hey. It reminds me of the multitude of stories that we've heard over the past however many years about the people that call the cops when somebody steals money, their weed money. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I paid for this weed and they took the money and they didn't give me my weed.
Officer, I'm a businessman. I'm just trying to conduct business. Right. What were you trying to do? Sell this fellow weed?
And he stole my weed.
He stole it.
And he's in that house with my weed. I want my weed back. All right, you go sit here in the back of this car, and I'm going to go get your weed.
Just wait right here.
Just wait right here. We're going to take care of that for you.
I tell you what, Chris's story about the fella just going around in circles in that car, that was good, too.
Just seeing the video, if you see the video of it, I mean, just you can look it up. It's all over the internet. I mean, the guy's literally going in a circle in this car, sitting in the back seat of this driverless car. He's filming the empty driver's seat.
It would not freak me out. If I was that dude, it would not freak me out when the car started doing that. What would freak me out is when I got a customer rep on the phone and they told me they couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, that was not good.
Then I'm thinking, okay, how do I get out of this car?
Yeah, I would be crawling over the into the front seat and putting the brakes on myself.
Got to be an override.
Yeah.
You would think that there would be an override for some of the things that Joe Biden or his handlers are doing in the last couple of weeks of his quote-unquote administration, but apparently there is not. And Chuck Schumer says Joe Biden's just fine. And anybody that says otherwise, y'all are just haters. We'll cover all of that and what's going on in Washington, D.C. in the final hour of the show as we continue. It's Matt Murphy and Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
6 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and Lisa Spencer tells us about a chance for measurable snow later this week.
Tonight's going to be a really cold one, so anything that's left out there moisturized is going to freeze. But it's Friday where we could see another much more significant snowstorm, and the timing, it's set to arrive in the morning for that morning commute.
Full forecast, traffic coming up in 5 minutes. By the way, Governor Andy Beshear telling Kentuckians stay home another day.
We're really racing against time because it is going to get really cold on Tuesday and Wednesday, especially, and Thursday. So we've got today and part of tomorrow to get power up to as many Kentuckians as we can, because with wind chill, it's going to get dangerously cold.
Here in Nashville, officials opening the extreme weather shelter tonight at 7 o'clock. That's for anyone and their pets who need to get out of the elements. In New York City, President-elect Trump losing his bid to delay sentencing in the hush money conviction while he appeals. The order came as Trump filed a lawsuit against Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg and Judge Juan Merchan over the judge's denial of his presidential immunity motions.
What you're seeing here from Donald Trump's legal team is just another tactic, of course, to delay his sentencing scheduled for Friday even further. They're picking apart everything, frankly, that Judge Merchan has done and challenging him and now suing him on the grounds, obviously, of saying that Merchan exceeded his jurisdiction when he denied Trump's claim of presidential immunity last week.
Sentencing set for Friday. And right now in New York City, former Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani been found in contempt of court by a judge who says he didn't properly respond to requests for information as he turned over assets to satisfy that $148 million defamation judgment granted to two Georgia election workers. And the results of the 2024 presidential election formally in the books with the announcement of the results to a joint session of Congress. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy from D.C.
Pursuant to the Constitution,
Vice President Harris began the proceeding, which lasted just 30 minutes.
Madam President.
In alphabetical order, the electoral votes from each of the states were read aloud. Republicans cheered whenever a Trump-won state was announced. Democrats did the same when electors for Harris were read. The final word came from her.
Donald J. Trump of the state of Florida has received 312 votes.
Members of both parties gave Harris a standing ovation. Her formal declaration of the tally tees up Trump's inauguration 2 weeks from today. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Well, the United States now has its first fatal case of bird flu. While bird flu case numbers in the U.S. have been rising, most have been mild. Louisiana was the first to report a serious case of bird flu, now is the first to report a death. It was in a person who had been hospitalized with avian flu or bird flu. The person was over the age of 65, had underlying health issues. That patient contracted bird flu after being around a backyard flock and wild birds. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Just in time to go home. I-24 eastbound at Blue Hole Road overpass. We've got the left shoulder blocked by a crash in Antioch. At Madison, Gallatin Pike South and East Old Hickory Boulevard, police on a crash. Near the airport, a crash blocking the on-ramp 40 eastbound from Donaldson Pike. 24 eastbound before Bell Road in Rural Hill. The left lane is blocked by a crash there, TDOT reporting. And in Hermitage, we got Lebanon Pike at Old Hickory Boulevard East. Police working a crash at that location. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, voice guy. It's 7 minutes after 6 o'clock. The Matt Murphy Show on this Monday continues. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you for being out there. Would love to hear from you on the phones if you so desire. 615-737-9986. And I actually have a specific task for you that I should mention before I mention those telephone numbers, 615-737-9986. We thank you for being out there. Some of the breaking news items of the day, obviously, the certification of the presidency, the electors of the presidency of Donald J. Trump happened earlier today. It started at high noon Eastern time and went into the afternoon hours as each state was named. The electors were deemed to be official and properly counted, and therefore it was the task of the Vice President of the United States of America. Couldn't happen to a nicer person. Kamala Harris determined that, yes, in fact, Donald J. Trump would be the 47th president of the United States of America. That happening earlier today. Also happening, Joe Biden has decided that he's going to do his best to ruin America before leaving office. When he can find his senses about him, he's making every wrong move imaginable in the waning days of his presidency, to include offering clemency to murderers and ne'er-do-wells, to include offering pardons of his own son, ne'er-do-wells, not a murderer so far as we know, but also damaging and harming the United States of America as a nation with regard to our energy policy, our border security, etc. We'll get into some of the details of that coming up in just a moment. But here's my question. Considering the lamentation of the mainstream media that they no longer have January 6th to lean on, and I think that's what today has been all about. You know, Joe Biden wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post. I won't bore you with it. I have it in front of me, where he told you what you really need to remember is that democracy was at risk. Does anyone actually believe that? Honest question. Now, if you're listening to me and you are left of center, you probably don't like me very much. You think I'm a loudmouth with a microphone, and that's all well and good. But I sincerely ask this question because I know some of our liberal friends do listen to the show. And maybe you hate Donald Trump, and maybe you have more of a disgust and a distaste for Trump or Trump supporters based on January 6th, 2021. Okay, fine. I don't know of any reasonable person that thinks that Jan 6, 2021 was a good thing. Anybody. Trump supporter, non-Trump supporter, anybody. Regardless of how you felt about the protests that were happening outside of the Capitol, they completely got out of hand, and people tried to buy. And look, and I understand that there's a lot of different perspectives about how all of that went down and what Trump could or could not have done better on January 6th. I'm not here to relitigate that. But I am here to ask the sincere question. Does part of what I will tell you about leftists that we have going for us as a nation, two things, and you will hear me say this regularly. They think you're dumb, and they always overplay the hand, especially when they think they have a winning one. If you play poker, you probably understand what I'm talking about. You know, like the guy that probably, you've got a couple of pair, and he's got three of a kind, and he probably could have, he could probably squeeze out of you a couple more quarters or dollars or whatever you happen to be playing for, but then he shoves all in with his 3 of a kind, and you're like, well, hell, I'm out because you just overplayed the hand that you had. Or worse still, you've got 3 of a kind and he's got 2 pair, and now he's shoving all in, and now you're thinking, I'm going to take all of his money, overplaying his hand, right? Liberals constantly overplay what they think is a winning hand. When what happened on January 6th, instead of examining it for what it was, which was a protest that became riotous, that became lawless, that involved people illegally entering the Capitol and using force to do so. I mean, denying that is to deny reality, and that is not to suggest that the mass of people that were there that day did anything wrong or anything illegal, or certainly anything that warranted jail time. And I am on record as saying that anyone involved in January 6th, if they did not physically assault a police officer, a Capitol police officer or otherwise, or did not injure someone, they have served their time. They've served their punishment. Whatever punishment they've served it. And certainly those that did nothing other than trespass in the Capitol building, those people should have been given a fine and dismissed from the jump. But sadly, the Democrats decided to overplay their hand and turn it into what ultimately became political persecution and prosecution. And they continue to do it to this moment, to this very second. And so when I am lectured by the mainstream media over the course of this day, 4 years later, about the threat to democracy, I mean, it's just nonsense is what it is. No reasonable person, as disturbing as the day might have been, as untoward as it was, and as illegal as some activity might have been, nobody actually believes, no rational, sane human being actually believes that what happened on January 6th was a, quote, existential threat to democracy. Yet for the last 4 years, we've been watching the mainstream media tell us that it was. And you're shaking your head like, what the hell were you watching? Was it bad? Yeah. Did many people need to be arrested? Yeah, sure. Did a lot of people need to get fined? Of course. And once again, I'm not here to relitigate the day, but no rational person actually believes how little, as a matter of fact, I've said this for the last 4 years, and I feel like I can put a final nail in this coffin and be done with this day, for goodness sake. No rational human being that actually believes in America thinks that that was a threat to America. Do you think so little about our system of government? Do you think so little about this country that you think that could topple it? Come on. Nobody believes that. Nobody buys into that. And yet, here was Joe Biden. He was writing it out. Well, Joe Biden didn't write any of this. We know that. But he had that op-ed piece with his name on it. Let's not forget, we can't be doomed to repeat the threat. Violent insurrectionists threatened the lives of elected officials on that day, January 6th. Violent insurrectionists threatened democracy on January 6th. Oh, and the mainstream media was beside themselves demanding that, well, just listen to, I don't mean to catch you at dinner by playing you a clip of Jim Acosta, but here we go.
Brad, is it time for Donald Trump to apologize for what took place 4 years ago?
What? If Donald Trump had anything to apologize for, which I don't believe he does, I would think that November 5th would put that baby to bed. And Jim Acosta, on the day that he's being certified as the 47th president of the United States of America, Acosta, who has permanent TDS, wants to know,
Brad, is it time for Donald Trump to apologize for what took place 4 years ago?
I wouldn't expect Donald Trump would apologize. I think nor do I expect Democrats to apologize for trying to undo his presidency by all legal and extra legal means after that.
Come on, Brad. Come on.
No, Jim, look at our own polling. Look at CNN's own exit polling. Voters who said they voted on democracy were evenly split between Democrats and Republicans. January 6th was a dark day in the history of our country. Donald Trump bears a lot of responsibility for that. It's something that should stain his legacy forever. However, voters, they punished him for it. That's why he was behind Ron DeSantis by 20 points until Alvin Bragg indicted him. And once voters decided that Democrats were determined to prevent Donald Trump from being elected by any extra legal means, they decided maybe this wasn't as clear.
I mean, shouldn't your party have just rejected him, just flat out rejected him, from Kevin McCarthy to Mitch McConnell to the whole lot of them? How could your party?
Do you understand the underlying assumptions, the insult that Jim Acosta as a human being is to the basic fabric of the United States of America based on what he just said? Jim Acosta thinks that Kevin McCarthy and Republican leaders get to handpick who's going to be the next president of the United States or the next nominee for president of the United States. You know, similar to the fashion that they hand-selected Kamala Harris when we finally all saw that Joe Biden couldn't shuffle around on stage anymore. The underlying assumption based on what he just said is disgusting. And look, CNN gets to hire whoever they want to hire. And if you want to know why the network that used to be pretty good, I mean, say what you will, they were always leaning left, even from the days of Bill Clinton. But there was a time when CNN carried the middle of the road enough that they had a tremendous viewing audience. And they have destroyed it all. Ted Turner has pneumonia, apparently. That's a headline that we just saw recently. He's a pretty old fella right now. He soon to be rolling over in his grave. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's an old fella. I mean, he ought to be rolling over in his bed wherever he is, given what the powers that be have turned into his once formidable network. They now regularly get beat down by Bravo, Reels, and the Hallmark Channel, and I'm not even making that up. They get beat down by On Patrol Live. I mean, which, by the way, is a great show. I don't know if you've ever watched it. Dan Abrams, say what you will about his politics, but On Patrol Live is. Do you watch this show?
This is like the Cops sort of on steroids.
It is Cops.
Right?
It is Cops on steroids.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of it. Yeah.
It is much watched television on Friday and Saturday nights if you are into that sort of thing. It is Cops pseudo live, but it is happening the night or the day that it is presented, and there's only reportedly about a 5 or 10 minute lag.
Oh, wow.
And they have like 8 different departments that engage in, like Richmond County in Georgia. Augusta, Georgia is one of them, or was one of them. There's one in South Carolina. I mean, they're all over the country. And, you know, if they get something hot, they go to them. And they just bounce from their studio to one of these 8 departments, and they watch as they do their thing. And it's pretty good television. One way or the other, they regularly just whip the crap out of CNN, and with good reason. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be fascinated by this, but the assumption in Acosta's point is that the power elites within any political party get to handpick their candidate, and the voters really don't have anything to do with it. It's just an absolute insult. It is secondarily an insult to suggest that Donald Trump bears direct responsibility. Now, I've heard people say Trump should have acted in a more serious fashion, more swiftly. He did act, and if you want to accuse him of acting slowly, so be it. I would say, if anything, Donald Trump didn't understand the true nature of the violence that was happening in some sectors of the Capitol at the time, that he sent out. I mean, but the man did say, go peacefully march. He did not say to do any of the things that were done. But all of this to ask you, what's next? I don't believe for a moment that CNN or the Washington Post or ABC, CBS, NBC, or any of the rest of the alphabet soup legacy media networks, absent a handful, and you know who they are. Fox is one of them. Newsmax is another. News Nation to a lesser degree. And outside of online media sources where most of us get our news, I mean, legacy media from a television standpoint is dying, just absolutely dying. We live because we give you an opportunity to offer feedback at a moment's notice. And there is truth in that, in as much as if I say something wrong, I know immediately. I'm told immediately, and you get to feedback on it. But this echo chamber loop that the mainstream legacy media finds themselves in, while they are in a death spiral, they still command a certain audience, and they're slinging the hits to that audience. So one wonders, with the legitimacy of their Trump derangement syndrome, where they go from here. So if you walk it back, before Donald Trump became president, they never saw it coming. To the moment that Hillary Clinton was declared the loser, they never saw it coming. I mean, not to belabor it, but, you know, he comes down the escalator and I'm all in on Trump. And I felt like he would flame out like magnesium. He would burn bright and flame out. And boy, was I wrong, obviously. But they never took him seriously. They treated him like a clown show. They gave him unearned media with just impunity. They laughed at him until the point that he actually continued to run. They laughed at him to the point that he got on a debate stage. They laughed at him to the point that he actually started winning debates. They laughed at him to the point that he actually started winning primaries. They laughed at the Republican Party at large when he became the Republican Party candidate. They laughed their butts off all the way to November 2016, and then he won. And they were like, what? Oh, and then he became an enemy of the state, then launched. So they laughed at him and treated him like a clown. That transitioned to 2.5 years of he's a Russian asset. And for 2.5 years, they treated him like a Russian asset. Then they set their sights on defeating him at the polls because he was a Russian asset, even though that was disproved. For the last 4 years, they've tried to beat him in the judicial system, in front of a variety of courts of law. They tried to impeach him twice, by the way, even once after he was president of the United States of America, trying to disqualify him from becoming president again. One would suggest that some of these individuals that were lashing out at him, trying to defeat him in that way, also had knowledge of what the hell was going on in Wuhan, China, and tried to beat him that way. And at every point they failed. Every point they failed. So now that they no longer have January 6th to lean on, I wonder what is next. They're not going to, when he takes the oath of office on January 20th, they're not going to treat him fairly. The mainstream media, which, believe it or not, can sway certain aspects of public opinion, will go after him on some other front. What would that front be? I don't believe it will be on policy because the majority of the American people agree with Donald Trump on policy. And they know that. He has the mandate. They know that. So they have to make something up. What will it be? I don't know. Any thoughts? 615-737-9986. It's 23 after the hour on Super Talk.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in, and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
It doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
We've got the police body cam footage of their response to that shooting at a Lebanon Walmart on Saturday. We've also got the closing business news, which includes McDonald's ending DEI initiatives, coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Ken Weaver. I've got a guy that's responsible for a lot of those DEI initiatives being eliminated on the show tomorrow. Our own Tennessee man, Robbie Starbuck, will join us tomorrow at 5:05 tomorrow afternoon to tell us what the latest is on his initiative to stop these DEI nonsensical policies in major corporations around the United States of America. Give us a thought on what went down today in the nation's capital, what with the certification of Donald Trump as our next and 47th president of the United States of America. In the meantime, by the way, before it gets away from me, I should say congratulations. You know, not only is Nashville's Morning News led by a really good guy, but he's also a pretty darn good talk show host, as evidenced by that big old Marconi that he totes around with him in his back pocket. You know, he keeps that with him at all times.
Yeah, he pulls it out and tries to show people. Like he'll drop it on the floor and pretend like,
no, thank you for getting that. Oh, no.
That's just my award.
That's just mine. I'm sorry.
How did that get here?
I didn't mean to handle my Marconi in front of you. My apologies. I've never seen one so big. Oh yes, the Marconis are all this large. But not only is he a Marconi Award winner, he was just named the number 3 morning show in the United States of America, according to Barrett Media, which is kudos to him. Way to go, Dan Mandis.
Brother
How about
Dan
that?
Mandis.
Very nice.
I mean, he's number 1 in our hearts, obviously.
Well,
but
sure, yeah.
Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis, and he wanted to give kudos to everybody that made that possible, to include Ken Weaver, Joan Jones, of course, Johnny B, and now KGB. But over the course of 2024, he was deemed to be the number 3 mid-market morning show in the United States of America. How about that?
It's not too bad.
That's not too shabby. Congratulations to Danny Mandis. So we'll get back to Joe Biden and his disastrous attempt to ruin the United States of America, to include, and I'm going to get to these 2 stories, he is moving to cripple our energy industry before Donald Trump can move to repair our energy production. Under Donald Trump, we were a net energy exporter by 2019. Sadly, that's not the case today. And Joe Biden wants to make it worse, whether it be offshore or in places where there is oil or shale to be had. We'll tell you the story coming up in just a moment, right after the news at Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and they're talking about measurable snow later this week, Friday morning during the commute. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Southern Kentucky seen some of the worst of this winter storm. Power could be out for at least one more day for many. Channel 4 says this man's wife is on oxygen.
We're concerned about it. It's, whatever it comes, we'll deal with it. If it, we're out a few days, then I may be getting some kerosene, firing up that kerosene heater.
Here in Nashville, the extreme weather shelter opening tonight at 7 for anyone and their pets who need to get warm. Police still looking for that suspect in Lebanon's Walmart shooting on Saturday. Channel 4's Dryden Quigley describes the police body cam footage.
Body cam video from police captures the moments they ran into a Walmart in Lebanon after receiving a call for a shooting.
Get out right now.
In minutes, they were able to evacuate the store and alert neighbors to shelter in place.
Clear. Clear.
Yeah, police have determined that it was a dispute between the suspect and another man. They're looking for a black man who was wearing a black jacket and gray sweatpants and driving a green vehicle. Money News, Michelle Franzen.
Markets were mixed to open the new year's first full week of trading. The Dow closed down 26 points, the S&P 500 up 33 points, and the Nasdaq gained 243 points. Nvidia grew more than 3.5% ahead of a speech by CEO Jensen Huang at the annual CES convention in Las Vegas. Nippon Steel and U.S. Steel today filed separate federal lawsuits challenging President Biden's decision to block Nippon's proposed acquisition of U.S. Steel. The company's alleged rival steelmaker Cleveland Cliffs and the head of the United Steelworkers Union worked together to scuttle the deal. The Federal Reserve's top financial regulator today announced he will resign next month. Michael Barr said he hopes to avoid possible confrontation with the incoming Trump administration and Senate Republicans. McDonald's announced it is ending some of its diversity practices in the wake of a U.S. Supreme Court ruling on affirmative action.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, Antioch, 24 eastbound near the Blue Hole Road overpass. That accident has been cleared. You're going to be getting back up to speed in rather short order. In Hermitage, still got an injury accident reported by police, Lebanon Pike at Old Hickory Boulevard East. Then we've got an accident, Burkett Road, Whitmore Lane, Elm Hill Pike west of Royal Parkway, Kings Lane west of Clarksville Pike in North Nashville. Police reporting a crash there. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Token 99.7 WTN.
When United Structural Systems comes to your house when called, you get problem solvers who provide peace of mind. They will never try to upsell you on any issue that you don't have. As a matter of fact, they'll help you understand the identifying factors of the issues that you do have. Now, if you've noticed some telltale signs, such as your house settling to the point that you have doors sticking, windows sticking. Maybe you've gone into the basement and you've noticed some cracking in the mortar joints. Perhaps you've noticed that stair step crack. Or you smell odors that smell dangerously like waterproofing issues. If any of these situations arise, it's time to call the best. It's time to call USS. It's wonderful to have this company that has approaching 30,000 satisfied residential customer testimonials to provide for you over the last 30-plus years. They're going on 31 years now in Middle Tennessee, and they can assist you. You don't do anything for that length of time if you're not doing it right. USS, they guarantee their best. Go to USSTN.com for more information. USSTN.com. I know you don't want to call them. I know you don't want to have this issue. But if you do have the issue, it's not going away. You need to call the best. Call USS. 615-488-7855, 488-7855 for USS. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joe Biden, I mean, what a disgrace over the weekend. And look, for those that were, I don't know what it takes to be worthy of the Medal of Freedom. I really don't. But whatever worth the Medal of Freedom had when you're handing it out to people like Hillary, I mean, why does Hillary Clinton need the Medal of Freedom? Hillary Clinton has already gotten every bureaucratic, government-bloated accolade that she could possibly desire. What? Medal of Freedom? Do we believe that Hillary Clinton believes in freedom? I mean, it's in the name, right? He gave one out to Lionel Messi. Now, look, I understand some of you perhaps enjoy a nice round of commie ball every once in a while, a.k.a. foosball, a.k.a. soccer. I can't do it. Look, how you get your amusement is up to you. I like to go over to Percy Priest Lake and watch the submarine races myself. You get it? See that you?
That's pretty good.
You get it because you can't.
I got it.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not, but Lionel Messi's not even an American. I mean, and you don't have to be an American to get the Medal of Freedom. I get that, but what, does he believe in freedom? I don't know. I mean, he hits a soccer ball pretty good, I guess. And then he comes and he makes a lot of money to come into the United States and beat Nashville Soccer Club last year, I guess it was, in some sort of match that was very important to soccer fans in Nashville. I don't know. Well, he didn't even bother to show up. Did not bother to show.
He was probably just as confused as we are.
I mean, that's a good point. It's like, what? And he was speaking in some foreign language. I do not know. I don't know what language
I don't think he's French, but
I couldn't.
Is that your go-to accent?
Yeah, oui. C'est comme ci, comme ça. Ouais. He also gave it to George Soros. I don't know of a more anti-freedom human being than George Soros. And yeah, there he is, handing it out. But it's not the worst of the worst for Joe Biden. So Joe Biden made the decision about a week ago that he was going to implement last-minute restriction on oil and gas drilling in the West just weeks before Donald Trump takes the oath of office for his second term. The Department of the Interior announced plans last week to pursue a 20-year ban on oil and gas leases in the Nevada Ruby Mountains. That's about 264,000 acres of land. The administration submitted an application to withdraw the acreage from any potential leasing, which initiated a 2-year ban on new mineral leases in the area during the approval process. The proposal now heads to a 90-day public comment period, which will ultimately fall under the Trump administration, and hopefully Trump rolls this back. Now, this does not mean, I feel like I'm a common sense guy when it comes to energy consumption and energy production. And I would not suggest to you that some of America's most beautiful places should be used or abused through energy production. However, ANWR is not one of those places and never has been. Remember when the big debate over the Alaskan National Wildlife Refuge was going on, and the political liberals in Washington, D.C. wanted you to believe they would show images of Alaska, right? And they would show images of Alaska that had nothing to do with the Alaskan National Wildlife Refuge, which is a barren wasteland. It is a frozen tundra. There are perhaps caribou and polar bears, which love the pipelines, by the way, because they're warm. And if you want to find it, you can find images of like caribou huddling around them to generate warmth. Anyway, having nothing to do, they would show you images of the Alaskan, the Inner Passage and these. No, they're going to destroy Alaska. No, we're not. Similarly, I'm not one to, sashay into Yellowstone National Park or some other national treasure and demand that we begin drilling or fracking. But there's plenty of land and there's plenty of property and there are plenty of places that are not useful to the general population or general public that we could utilize for energy production because we need to get independent as quickly as humanly possible. I'm all about alternative forms of energy. I'm all about whatever you need to utilize in order to get what you need in the form of energy. However, we cannot go independent of fossil fuel production, and we're not anywhere close. But Joe Biden doesn't seem to care because Joe Biden doesn't have much more time to live, apparently. Or the people that surround Joe Biden have bought into this concept that we need to get off fossil fuels to the point that they're willing to see the United States of America suffer as a result, and the American people suffer as a result. And so it wasn't enough that Joe Biden decided that he was going to eliminate 265 roughly 1,000 acres from the potential for future production. President Joe Biden this morning announced a new ban on offshore oil and gas drilling in more than 625 million acres of federal waters, also known as waters. Wooders. The White House announced earlier today a final blow against domestic energy production just weeks before Donald Trump takes office, 2 weeks to be precise. The outgoing president is going to use his authority, whether he knows it or not, under the 1953 Outer Continental Shelf Acts. I'm sorry, let me say it again. Get it right, Murphy. The 1953 Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act to protect offshore drilling areas along the East Coast, West Coast, East Gulf of Mexico, and additional portions of the North Bering Sea in Alaska from all and any future oil and gas leasing. Cast as a way to preserve the fishing and tourism industry in the affected states, these steps do not expire ever. Biden said in a statement, because he couldn't say it on his own, let's be honest, "My decision reflects what coastal communities, businesses, and beachgoers have known for a long time, that drilling off these coasts could cause irreversible damage to places we hold dear and is unnecessary to meet our nation's energy needs. As the climate crisis," here it comes, "continues to threaten communities across the country, we are transitioning to a clean energy economy. Now is the time to protect these coasts for our children and for our grandchildren." Established 72 years ago, the Outer Continental Shelf Lands Act governs energy leasing activity in submerged lands under U.S. jurisdiction that extend 3 miles beyond the shoreline. An open-ended provision in the federal law gives the president authority to permanently withdraw portions, without providing a way for succeeding presidents to reverse course. In other words, this is not as simple. So some would say, well, Murph, let him do whatever he wants to do. When Trump comes in, Trump signs an executive order on his first day to undo the action. Congress would actually need to take action. Or if Trump decides to revoke Biden's withdrawal, that action might prompt a legal challenge. Now, what Donald Trump could do is he could use executive power to kill offshore wind sites, as he has promised. You know, it's these wind sites that cause more problems than any of the oil or gas production. And I would recall to you, and I was in Alabama at the time, remember the big BP oil spill? What was that, 10 years ago or so?
Well, I think it was longer than that, wasn't it?
12 years ago? I'm going to guess 2012 is what I'm going to guess.
2010.
Well, longer than I thought. Yeah. 15 years ago now. 15 years ago. We were told in the aftermath, that was bad. There's no question about it. That was bad. You had the explosion. You had the oil fracture. You had the pipeline fracture. You had oil coming out of the ocean floor and seemingly nothing that we could do about it for weeks, if not months. And eventually they got it sealed up. And I remember that the environmentalist do-gooders told us that there would be a portion of the Gulf of Mexico that would be a kill zone, dead zone for the next 30 years. Wildlife came back to that area in less than 3. And it's as thriving as it has ever been. Now, there was a big cleanup, no doubt. They cleaned up a lot of the oil that came on shore, but that cleanup was more for us than anything because we wanted the beaches clean so we could go to the beach. Nature finds a way. That doesn't mean that we should not do our best to be as clean as possible. But what these knuckleheads in the Biden administration and these climate change do-gooders want, they want America to suffer against the rest of the world. It's not really about climate change, by the way, because we could change all of the activity completely in the United States of America. And if you don't get China on board, it's not going to make a hill of beans of difference in terms of climate change. Even if I bought into their facts, which I don't. But Joe Biden has bought in. And what does he care? I mean, honestly, what does Joe care? Half the time, he can't remember who he is. The other half of the time, apparently, he's wandering around the White House asking individuals when he gets to go home. I'm not making that up, by the way. He actually reportedly did that. So what does he care? Asked about the ban during a Monday radio interview, Trump told the host of the interview, Hugh Hewitt, that he would unban it immediately. It's really our greatest economic asset, he said. Drill, baby, drill has been Trump's mantra all along, and rightly so. We need to become as independent as we possibly can. We need to get our strategic petroleum reserves restocked. Joe Biden has depleted all of them for political purposes. All of these things will be corrected in 2 weeks. Can you? I just can't wait. I cannot wait. Cannot wait. Final segment on the way next. We'll finish it up, reminding you of some of the headlines you need to know about before we go, and we'll call it a day and hand off to Mark Levin. That's next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Have you ever noticed how unreliable things have become these days? Like when somebody tells you it'll be ready at 4 and it's not ready at 4. People are really tired of that junk. Hey, it's Matt Murphy. And if you've had it with unreliable vehicle repair shops, come to Eurofix. Eurofix turns unreliable into reliable, and Eurofix has your vehicle ready when it's really ready. You don't have to stand around. You don't have to wait around. Eurofix repairs all European cars with quality that beats the dealer without all of the dealer pricing. That's because dealer repair shops are designed to pay virtually all of the dealership's overhead. Let me say that again. Dealer repair shops are designed to pay the overhead of the dealership. That's a lot of money. Why would you want to pay for that? At Eurofix, reliable also means a 3-year nationwide warranty plus a free loaner car with every repair appointment. Plus, make sure you call ahead as loaner cars are popular. If you're tired of unreliable repair shops, come to where it's reliable. Come to Eurofix. I encourage you to do that. Family owned for 26 years. Call 844-EUROFIX. That's 844-EUROFIX, or go to myEurofix.com. Again, tell them Murphy sent you to myEurofix.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, I got a list just because I was curious. And I think based on the country's population, they have perhaps had more than their fair share of comedians coming out of Canada.
Yeah. Big list, isn't it?
Pretty big list. Jim Carrey's on it. We mentioned earlier today we were talking about Canadian comedians. And Norm Macdonald. For some reason, why did I not know that Norm was born in Canada? I don't know, but I didn't.
He never really talked about his
I just always assumed he was from like Wisconsin.
Yeah, I could see that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But apparently he was, so a lot of the Second City folks, right? Or remember SCTV?
Oh,
Did you ever?
Yeah. That was my go-to in the afternoons after school.
Loved it.
Yep.
Loved it. So you've got, from that family, you've got Eugene Levy, Rick Moranis, John Candy.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about Candy.
Forgot about John Candy. Martin Short was from that kind of family of actors. Eventually, that graduated to, did you ever watch Kids in the Hall?
Loved it.
Yep. Oh, man. Chick Drink Drunk. You know what I'm talking
about? No, Girl Drink Drunk.
Was it Girl Drink Drunk?
I'm pretty sure.
Or was it Girl Drink? Yeah. Well, same. Yeah. We were thinking the same bit.
Yeah.
Where the guy's an alcoholic, but he's only an alcoholic for girl drinks.
Yeah.
And so
he likes the foo-foo ones. Yeah.
He has to bring a blender and a coconut, and he's like in the bathroom stall making him one.
Yeah. Umbrellas. Yeah.
But, Seth Rogen, Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman.
Canadian.
Wow, yeah. I did not know that.
See, so many of these guys from America. Phil Hartman was one of the greatest, gone too soon. Died at the age of 50. Catherine O'Hara, Mike Myers.
Right,
Mike Myers was the hottest comedian on the planet after he did his Austin Powers bits.
Yep.
And then he did that one. Did you ever watch that Guru movie?
Oh, yeah, it was terrible.
I mean, everybody says that it was. People told me it was terrible, so terrible. Yeah. Please don't go watch it if you like Mike Myers.
I can't say that I actually did watch it. I just remember hearing it was so terrible. And I can picture him in the big long wig and the facial with the beard and stuff. Yeah, that was really bad.
But I guess he's made all of his money on the Shrek things.
Oh, yeah. What does he care?
What does he care?
Yeah.
Original Shrek,
Yeah, Chris Farley. Yeah. Would have been a lot different movie.
Would have been a much, much different film. Howie Mandel. I'm just looking up. Well, Michael J. Fox was in comedies, and he's
I'd forgotten about that.
Forgotten about him, too. So, yeah, and to include, Jim Carrey and some of the others that we mentioned. So, just an undue amount I guess, what else are you going to do? You sit around, you ice fish, you drink beer, and you make jokes.
Yeah. Or play hockey. That's about it.
Play hockey, drink some maple syrup, for all I know. So, yeah, there's that. By the way, we have failed to talk about this with good reason because I only get 3 minutes a day to talk football, and I think we exposed ourselves of about a minute and a half of that, picking on Ken Weaver and his Oklahoma Sooners. But the Tennessee Titans, man, that season could not be done quickly enough. But, hey, why is everybody so mad at me for celebrating? We won something.
I don't know that you won it necessarily.
It took a season of hard-ish work from mediocre players, and you got to 3-14. And thank you to the New England Patriots, but more importantly, thank you to the Buffalo Bills for laying down against the Patriots. This is that time of year where things get really weird in the NFL.
Yeah,
because the Bills were not playing their starters, and the Patriots managed to beat the Bills' backup team. Apparently, the last game of the season, the Texans were actually playing for something, and so they decided not to allow the Tennessee team to beat them, and Tennessee secured the number one spot in the NFL draft.
Yay!
Hey! And what will they do with it?
What will they do? That's the big question.
I mean, what do you think?
Don't do what you've been doing. That's what you should do. Do the opposite.
Whatever you think you should do, think that and then do the opposite.
Yep.
I mean, I think the obvious choice is you trade it. You get more selections because you got way more problems than any quarterback can fix, and I don't think there's a quarterback that can fix your problems in the NFL draft this year. So, do not pick Carson. I mean, I'm sorry.
No.
I love my dogs,
Don't
but
do it.
I wouldn't do it if I were you. That wraps it up for this Monday edition. We're back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Join Dan Mandis tomorrow morning bright and early. Mark Levin comes up next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So long, everybody.